Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 1. Get Sage Body at the beginning. In Konoha village in the Land of Fire, in a wooden house at the very edge of the village, a white-haired boy was staring at the mirror in a daze. I never thought that I would travel to the Hokage world. Jiraiya said as he looked into the mirror and pinched his face. He was watching the battle between Hokage Jiraiya and Pain Six Paths, but for some reason, a dazzling white light suddenly shot out from the screen and hit him, and then he lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he had already arrived in the Hokage world and became Jiraiya. Jiraiya soon accepted the fact of time travel. Ding dong, the god-level sign in system has been bound. At this moment, a mechanical voice sounded in Jiraiya's mind. Jiraiya was not surprised to hear the mechanical voice in his mind, as the system was a standard feature for time travelers. Before he traveled through time, he read a lot of novels. System, what role do you play? Jiraiya asked expectantly. The Hokage world is extremely dangerous. Without strong power, you may be killed at any time. Jiraiya is a strong man in the Hokage world, but when he was a teenager, he was very weak and was known as the last one. Unfortunately, he traveled back to Jiraiya's teenage years. At this time, Jiraiya had just graduated from the Ninja Academy 2 years ago, and had just recently become a disciple of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen together with Orochimaru and Tsunade. He is now just a Chunin, and the weakest among the Chunin. So he is now very much looking forward to the capabilities of the system. Reporting to the master, this system allows you to sign in once every 7 days, and each sign-in will give you various random rewards. The rewards include various ninjutsu, ninja tools, bloodline limits, etc. Host, would you like to sign in for the first time? After the system answered the question, it asked. Sign in. Jiraiya nodded without any hesitation. Successful first sign-in, obtained Sage Body, S-level specialization in Genin technique. The system sounded. Damn, do you have to be so awesome? Jiraiya was directly shocked by the generosity of the system. Immediately afterwards, Jiraiya felt a warm current appearing in his body, flowing to every part of his body, as if transforming his body. The whole process was extremely comfortable. Jiraiya could clearly feel that the chakra contained in his body was increasing rapidly. In the Hokage world, the ultimate competition is based on the bloodline of each individual's ancestors. The stronger the ancestral bloodline, the stronger the inherited power. Just like the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Due to the existence of Sharingan, the Uchiha clan's ninjas are several times stronger than civilian ninjas. Among them, Sage Body is an extremely powerful bloodline, which is passed down from the Sage of Six Paths. The reason why Senju Hashirama is called the god of ninja is that Sage Body plays a great role. Because once you have a Sage Body, you will gain strong vitality and huge chakra. Once the Sage Body is fully developed, the chakra it can possess is no weaker than that of the tailed beasts, as well as extremely terrifying vitality and self-healing abilities. Even if it is cut in half, it will not die and will heal quickly. It's simply an extremely buggy ability. As for the S-level specialization in the Genin technique, it is also an extremely heaven-defying reward. As we all know, each type of ninjutsu has a specific method of making hand seals. If you want to successfully perform a ninjutsu, you must make the hand seals exactly as you wish. The more powerful the technique, the more seals are required. The speed of forming hand seals determines how fast the ninjutsu can be performed. The hand seal expertise that the system now rewards means that in the future, as long as he learns ninjutsu below S level, he will be able to quickly form hand seals. Among the Hokage, the one with the fastest hand seals is Uchiha Itachi, who can form 7 hand seals in 1 second. Before others can even perform a single ninjutsu, he has already cast several. The seal-making expertise that the system rewarded him with allows him to make 4 seals per second. If he practices more, this speed can be further improved. With the Sage Body and the expertise in hand seals, as long as I can learn some powerful ninjutsu, it won't be long before I have the strength of a Jonin, and I will have a certain ability to protect myself in the Hokage world. Jiraiya clenched his fists and said excitedly. Although Jiraiya is extremely famous in the Hokage world, he is actually a tragic character. He almost caught up with Tsunade, almost got his companions back, almost saved his mentor, and almost saved his apprentice. In every important event in his life, he fell short, and was ultimately killed by his own apprentice, dying with regret. Now that he has traveled through time and space and become Jiraiya, there is no way he can allow tragedy to happen again. The best way to prevent tragedy from happening is to quickly improve your own strength. When the warm current in his body disappeared, Jiraiya moved his body. He could clearly feel that his body became stronger and lighter than before. It seems that Sage Body is also of great help in practicing various physical techniques. Jiraiya thought to himself. Jiraiya walked out of the house, intending to practice the ninjutsu he had learned before. The yard of Jiraiya's house is extremely large, and there is also a training ground specifically for ninja training. The training ground was built by Jiraiya's parents and is fully equipped with various functions. Jiraiya's parents were both ninjas, but they died in battle while on a mission. Jiraiya walked into the training ground and found that many training equipment were covered with dust and it seemed that they had not been used for a long time. "You're so lazy, no wonder you're the last one in the class." Jiraiya couldn't help but complain in his mind. If a ninja wants to improve his strength quickly, he can only practice hard day and night. From what he remembered, Jiraiya's access to the training grounds was extremely limited, because whenever he had time he would hang around the women's bathhouse to see if he could find an opportunity to peek. Before he traveled through time, Jiraiya had already become a well-known little pervert in the neighborhood. Not only some young girls, but even some older ladies all avoided Jiraiya like a tiger, for fear that Jiraiya would target them and have an extra pair of eyes secretly watching them when they were taking a bath. After all, Jiraiya's title of pervy sage wasn't given for nothing. Earth style, Yellow Spring Swamp. Jiraiya calmed himself down, looked at a huge rock in the training ground, then quickly formed seals with his hands and slapped the ground, guiding the chakra in his body and injecting it into the earth. The land around the rock immediately began to soften, but in a moment, it turned into a swamp and the rock sank downwards. Fire style, Fire Bomb. Jiraiya once again quickly formed seals with his hands, refined the chakra in his body into oil, and then ignited it with the fire style technique. He suddenly opened his mouth and 3 fire bombs came out of his mouth and shot at the boulder. Chapter 2 Violent Tsunade. Click. A crisp sound was heard, and cracks appeared on the boulder under the attack of the fire bomb. In addition, dents appeared where the fire bomb directly hit it, and the surrounding area turned into colored glaze, caused by the scorching high temperature. Since the fire-style bomb contained chakra oil, the flames in the dents continued to burn at an astonishingly high temperature, and the boulder was slowly dissolving. The most terrifying thing about fire style is the incredibly high temperature. Sure enough, the sage body can also enhance the power of ninjutsu. Jiraiya whispered as he looked at the dissolving boulder, extremely satisfied with the power of the two jutsu. According to the memories he received, Jiraiya's previous use of Earth-style Yomiuri Swamp and Fire-style Flame Bomb did not have such power. In the past, when Jiraiya used Earth-style Yellow Spring Swamp, it could only affect the land within 3 meters, and the area that could be turned into a swamp was also extremely limited, and at most could only restrain an adult male. Just now, Jiraiya was nearly 8 meters away from the boulder, and it was very easy for him to guide chakra over there. This was not the limit. The boulder is more than 1 meter long and half a meter wide, and the swamp it creates is enough to swallow it up with some leftover. As for the fire-style flame bomb, Jiraiya could only condense one before, and the attack range was within 5 meters. The power was only enough to break wood, and the temperature released could not harm stones or the like. In other words, after obtaining the sage body, the power of these two ninjutsu will be doubled. Especially the power of fire-style flame bomb is comparable to B-level ninjutsu. You have to know that Jiraiya has just obtained the sage body and has not yet fully adapted to it, and has not yet fully developed it. As time goes by, sage body will increase the power of ninjutsu even more. Jiraiya then practiced some basic ninjutsu, shadow clone technique, body replacement technique, transformation technique, and body flicker technique. We need to learn a defensive ninjutsu as soon as possible. After practicing all the ninjutsu, he found that the previous Jiraiya didn't even master a single defensive ninjutsu. If he were to fight against the enemy, his shortcomings would be extremely obvious, and he must quickly learn a defensive ninjutsu. Jiraiya planned to go back to the house to see if there were any scrolls for practicing defensive ninjutsu from his parents. According to the memories he received, there were many ninjutsu scrolls among Jiraiya's parents' relics, which recorded many ninjutsu. "Jiraiya, are you sleeping in again, you idiot?" As soon as I walked out of the training room, a roar was heard outside the yard. Bang! Immediately afterwards, the gate of the yard was knocked open by a huge force, and one of the door panels fell directly to the ground. A girl with a ponytail, puffed out chest and wearing a green top walked in. "Tsunade, could you please not be so violent next time? It's not like I won't open the door for you. This door panel is very difficult to install." Seeing this scene, Jiraiya couldn't help but groan. The visitor is none other than Tsunade, the granddaughter of the ninja god Senju Hashirama, who will become the 5th Hokage. The reason why Jiraiya was able to recognize it at a glance was because the features on Tsunade's chest were too obvious. Although it is not very old now, its scale is already quite large. Now Tsunade is also a Chunin like Jiraiya, and he is training under the 3rd Hokage. Jiraiya walked over and tried to pick up the door panel that had fallen to the ground, but as soon as he put his hand on the board, Tsunade stepped on it directly, and the board immediately broke into pieces. Jiraiya couldn't help but twitch his lips. According to his memory, Tsunade has broken his door 5 times since this month, including this one. "Jiraiya, you idiot, you got up so early today, which bathhouse are you planning to go to peek?" Tsunade said with her hands on her hips glaring at Jiraiya. "Don't say that. I got up so early today to practice ninjutsu, definitely not to peep." Jiraiya said hurriedly. "Do you think I will believe your lies? Tomorrow we will compete with Elder Danzo's apprentice. How are you preparing?" Tsunade asked. Seeing that Tsunade didn't believe in him, Jiraiya was helpless because his previous reputation had been completely ruined. After Sarutobi Hiruzen became Hokage, he stipulated that Jonin must select 3 students from among those who graduated from the ninja school to be his apprentices. Because this will better enhance the strength of the Konoha village ninjas. He, Tsunade, and Orochimaru were chosen by Sarutobi Hiruzen to form a 3-person team after graduating from the Ninja Academy. Just 3 days ago, when they were training with Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo brought his disciples to the training grounds, wanting to have the 2 disciples compete with each other. Sarutobi Hiruzen would naturally not refuse. The day of the competition was tomorrow. "From your appearance, I know you are not ready yet. Jiraiya, I warn you, you can lose, but you must not lose too badly. If you lose too badly, I will never let you off easily." Tsunade said this with her fist clenched before Jiraiya could reply, and it was obvious that she no longer had any hope of winning against Jiraiya. Because she knew Jiraiya's strength too well. Hearing Tsunade's tone, Jiraiya was very helpless. "Do I look so weak? Tsunade, how about we make a bet? If I win tomorrow's competition, how about you agree to one of my requests?" Jiraiya tells Tsunade that now that he has the sage body, there is no way he will lose to Chunin as long as he is careful. Danzo's 3 current disciples were only of Chunin strength. "Jiraiya, if you can win, let alone agree to one of your requests. What if I agree to 3 of your requests?" Tsunade agreed immediately and readily, and it was obvious that she didn't think Jiraiya could win. A smile appeared on Jiraiya's lips. Now someone had cleaned the equipment in the training ground. "If you lose badly, I promise to let you taste the power of my fist," Tsunade said, waving his fist again. Tsunade has extremely terrifying supernatural powers. In the original work, Jiraiya once peeked at Tsunade taking a bath. After being discovered, Jiraiya was punched by Tsunade. He was seriously injured and almost died. Tsunade warned Jiraiya a few more times before turning and leaving. "Let's set a small goal for ourselves, and chase Tsunade first." Jiraiya thought to himself as he looked at Tsunade's departing back. He won't lose to Kato Dan. I hope I can get the wood-style keke boundary by signing in the future, so that it will be convenient to repair the gate in the future. Looking at the broken door panels on the ground, Jiraiya couldn't help but feel a headache. Chapter 3 Practice Makes the Truth. After Tsunade left, Jiraiya didn't fix the door because he wanted Tsunade to do it. Jiraiya is absolutely confident that he can defeat Danzo's apprentice tomorrow. Before leaving, Tsunade said that as long as he could win, she would agree to many of his requests. Then it will be a good opportunity for Tsunade to experience the trouble of repairing a door. Jiraiya returned to the house and walked towards the room where his parents' belongings were kept. When he opened the door, Jiraiya was a little surprised because the room was very tidy, all the items were sorted and put away, without a trace of dust. It was a completely different scene from the training ground outside. Especially the photos placed on a cabinet were wiped extremely clean. Jiraiya sighed slightly. No matter which world it is, war can bring endless pain to people. If there had been no war, he believed that the photos displayed on the counter would never have been so clean. Jiraiya walked up to the counter, stretched out his hand and pulled it open, and saw a locked iron box. The lock of the box is specially made, it is a square lock with a round lock slot. From the memories he received, the ninjutsu scrolls left by Jiraiya's parents were all placed inside the box. Jiraiya placed the box on the ground and took off the pendant from around his neck. The pendant hanging around Jiraiya's neck is a crimson round bead, and it's unknown what kind of jade it is made of. Jiraiya put the scarlet round bead into the lock slot. Click, there was a crisp sound, and the lock slot turned and the lock fell off the box. Jiraiya gently opened the box, which contained about 20 scrolls of ninjutsu. Jiraiya began to check them one by one. It took him about half an hour to finish reading all the ninjutsu scrolls. There is not a single S-level ninjutsu. After all, Jiraiya's parents were not powerful ninjas in Konoha, nor were they from a big family, so it was normal that they did not have S-level ninjutsu. As for A-rank ninjutsu, there is one, but unfortunately it is lightning style, and Jiraiya does not have the chakra nature of lightning attribute, so he cannot practice it. Most of the remaining ninjutsu are B-level ninjutsu and C-level ninjutsu. Jiraiya thought for a moment and took out 2 ninjutsu scrolls from the B-level ninjutsu scrolls. These 2 ninjutsu scrolls record the training methods of 2 B-level ninjutsu, Earth-style Earth Array Wall and Wind-style Wind Net. The Earth-style Earth Array Wall, needless to say, is a defensive array. Basically, all ninjas who possess Earth attribute chakra will practice it, because the defensive power of this ninjutsu is very considerable, and this ninjutsu also has huge potential. Many A-level Earth-style defensive ninjutsu are extensions of this ninjutsu. In the original work, Sarutobi, Hiruzen and Kakashi are both very skilled in Earth style. Especially Kakashi, every time he uses the Earth Array Wall, he will hang a dog head. He currently lacks defensive ninjutsu, so practicing Earth Array Wall is the best option. As for Wind style, it is a perception-based ninjutsu, not a defensive or offensive ninjutsu. Wind style is a ninjutsu that refines chakra into wind lines, which are then radiated to the surroundings to form a wind net. Any ninja who steps into the wind net will be sensed. The reason why Jiraiya chose to practice this technique is because perception ability is extremely important in ninja battles. The Hyuga family of Konoha village became famous in the ninja world because of their Byakugan, which has extremely strong detection capabilities. The Byakugan has a very strong insight ability and can see the flow of chakra in the surrounding environment. It also has the telescopic eye that can see far away and the insight eye that can see through objects, and can also see the meridians, nerves and acupoints of the opponent. If the strength is similar, you will almost certainly be defeated if a ninja from the Hyuga family gets close to you. Moreover, the Byakugan utilizes chakra to multiply the power of the eyes. The eyes can see things within a radius of 1 kilometer. Its insight ability far exceeds that of the Sharingan. During the Hokage War, the major ninja villages were extremely wary of Konoha's Hyuga clan. Jiraiya does not have a bloodline limit like the Byakugan, so he can only practice perception-type ninjutsu to enhance his sensitivity in battle. You don't practice so many ninjutsu, but instead go to peek at the women's bathhouse whenever you have time. I don't know what you are thinking. Jiraiya thought helplessly, and secretly made up his mind that when he had some time in the future, he would go and peek at the women's bathhouse. He wanted to try it out himself to see what the scenery in the women's bath was that attracted the former Jiraiya. After all, practice leads to truth. Anyway, my reputation is already ruined, so I might as well come a few more times before changing it. He swore that he didn't mean to spy on girls bathing, he was just curious about what the female bathhouse in the Hokage world looked like. He is also full of thirst for knowledge. Jiraiya planned to practice the Earth Wall first, because defensive ninjutsu is indispensable in battle. There are 2 ways to practice Earth style. One of them is to refine the Earth attribute chakra into the mouth and then spray it out to form an Earth style wall. The other is to guide the chakra directly into the earth, thus forming an Earth Array Wall. The first method is the most clever, because even if you can't reach the ground, you can still use the Earth style Earth Array Wall, and the more chakra you refine into your mouth, the stronger the power. The second method requires contact with the ground to be used, which has certain limitations. However, the first training method is extremely difficult. In the original Hokage story, only the 3rd Hokage used this method when he fought Orochimaru. The rest of the ninjas who mastered the Earth style almost all used the second method of practice. The famous Kakashi also used this method most often. After a little thought, Jiraiya decided to start with the second method of training. If he wanted to practice according to the first method, it would be extremely difficult to master the Earth-style Earth Array Wall in a short period of time. After becoming proficient in the second method, it would be easier to master the first method. After making up his mind, Jiraiya immediately took the ninjutsu scroll and went to the training room to start practicing. The way Earth-style chakra is guided is somewhat similar to Earth-style Yomiuri Swamp, and it is precisely because of this that Jiraiya chose Earth-style chakra as a defensive ninjutsu because he can master it better. He gained the expertise of hand seals from the system, and Jiraiya was confident that he would be able to successfully practice this technique by tomorrow. Because he now possesses a sage body, the chakra contained in his body is enormous, so he does not need to worry about exhausting his chakra while practicing and taking a break. Jiraiya quickly immersed himself in training. Time passed unknowingly, and soon it was dark. Earth-style Earth Wall. Jiraiya, who was standing in the center of the training ground, shouted loudly, quickly formed seals with his hands, and slammed the ground. He saw the ground in front of him shaking violently, and then a half-meter-high earth wall slowly rose in front of him. Chapter 4 Being Underestimated. The earth wall slowly rose half a meter high and then stopped. Jiraiya frowned and stopped channeling chakra. The earth wall immediately collapsed and turned into a pile of wasteland. After a whole day of hard training, he was able to use the unearthed array wall in a preliminary way, but he was not happy. Because the earth array wall he had just cast was condensing and rising too slowly, it had no effect at all in the battle. If he had been in a battle just now, the enemy's attack would have landed on him before his earth wall had even risen. Chakra concentration is still not good enough, it's too scattered. Jiraiya recalled the process of the spell just now and whispered that the reason for this situation was due to the guidance of chakra. There is absolutely no problem with his hand seal forming speed, the reason can only be the guidance of chakra. Being able to use B-level ninjutsu in just one day was already extremely amazing, but Jiraiya was still not satisfied and continued to practice hard. Earth-style Earth Wall. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Jiraiya slammed the ground with both hands, and a large amount of earth attribute chakra was introduced into the ground and gathered in one place. In an instant, a 1-meter-high earth wall rose in front of him. This time the earth wall rose up in the blink of an eye. Finally succeeded. Jiraiya said happily that this way, he would have almost no weaknesses in tomorrow's fight. The speed at which he could perform Earth-style Earth Array Wall was already fast enough. As long as the enemy did not master space ninjutsu, the rest of the ninjutsu could be blocked in the first place. Even if the defense cannot completely block the attack, it can buy him time to dodge. Gulu. After the intense training, Jiraiya's stomach growled. From day till now, he has not eaten a single bit of food and has been practicing Earth-style Earth Array Wall. If he hadn't possessed the sage body, which greatly increased his physical strength, he would never have been able to hold on until now. Jiraiya left the training ground, walked to the pond in the yard, picked up the fishing net next to it, scooped up a net of fish, and walked into the kitchen. Jiraiya raised a lot of fish in the pond, which was his main source of food. Before he traveled through time, he had mastered Grandmaster's cooking skills. He picked up the tools in the kitchen, quickly prepared the fish and threw it into the pot. Not long after, the delicious sweet and sour fish was brought to the restaurant by Jiraiya. Belch. Jiraiya quickly devoured the sweet and sour fish and burped with satisfaction. Then Jiraiya lay down on the wooden board and fell asleep. Jiraiya, you be ****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** D me off. Jiraiya, who was sleeping, was suddenly awakened by a roar. He sat up suddenly from the floor and saw Tsunade looking at him murderously. Where did you go to spy last night? Tsunade asked loudly. If it weren't for the competition at noon, Tsunade really wanted to knock Jiraiya away with one punch. Tsunade, calm down. The reason I'm still sleeping is because I practiced ninjutsu until the early hours of the morning. Jiraiya explained hurriedly. He was really afraid that Tsunade would punch him. Because I was too tired from practicing ninjutsu last night, I slept until dawn. I turned my head and looked at the alarm clock, and it was already 8 o'clock. Can you come up with a better excuse? Do you think I will believe you? Tsunade said angrily. Tsunade, don't bother with him, or we'll really be late. Just at this moment, a young man wearing a white ninja uniform and with snake eyes walked in and said. It was none other than Jiraiya's other partner, Orochimaru. Jiraiya, if you fail miserably today, I will make sure that you will not be able to get out of bed to peek for a year. Tsunade threatened, then stormed out. Orochimaru, thank you for helping me out. Jiraiya said to Orochimaru gratefully. Now that World War II has not yet begun, Orochimaru is still normal inside, except that he feels a little lonely. He also treats his partners very well. In the original Hokage, Jiraiya wanted to play the hero and save the damsel in distress in order to pursue Tsunade. Invited Orochimaru to block the way, and Orochimaru agreed, but like Jiraiya, he was beaten black and blue by Tsunade. The reason why Orochimaru defected from Konoha was because after experiencing World War II, he found that life was too fragile, so he went astray and began to study various forbidden techniques in order to gain eternal life. In fact, there was nothing wrong with Orochimaru coming up with this idea and putting it into practice. But he shouldn't have captured Konoha's ninjas for experiments. I just don't want to waste time here. Orochimaru said lightly. Jiraiya, you know Tsunade's extraordinary strength, so don't make her angry in the future. If you really get hit by a few punches, you will cry. There are also 3 disciples of Elder Danzo, all of whom are stronger than you. You are no match for them. You can just admit defeat and don't force yourself. Orochimaru reminded Jiraiya that he still cared about Jiraiya a little. Because Orochimaru is also a war orphan, and he has a lonely personality, he only has 2 friends, Tsunade and Jiraiya. Orochimaru, please don't underestimate me. I will be the famous Jiraiya-sama in the ninja world in the future. Jiraiya deliberately spoke in his previous tone so that Orochimaru and Tsunade wouldn't notice anything unusual. Jiraiya used to be an extremely narcissistic guy. Just pretend I didn't say anything just now. Orochimaru said speechlessly and walked quickly outside. Jiraiya was a little embarrassed. It seemed that Orochimaru also regarded him as the last one in his heart. It seemed that he had to pass today's competition to refresh Tsunade and Orochimaru's opinion of him. Let's go eat ramen first, and then we'll meet up. Tsunade suggested on the way. I agree. I don't have any opinion either. Orochimaru and Jiraiya readily agreed since neither of them had eaten breakfast yet. The most important thing is that every time they eat together, Tsunade pays the bill, so they both get it for free. Tsunade's family is a big family in Konoha village, and they are very wealthy. Walking into the ramen shop, Tsunade ordered 3 large servings of ramen. Orochimaru, are you confident that you can win today's competition? Tsunade asked Orochimaru after they sat down. Do you think I will lose? Orochimaru said coldly. Jiraiya didn't expect that Orochimaru at this period was still a master at pretending to be cool. That's true. You are much stronger than Jiraiya. You will definitely not lose in a competition like this. Tsunade said in agreement, and then ridiculed Jiraiya at the same time. Chapter 5 Should I be nervous? Jiraiya was caught in the crossfire for no reason and did not say anything. He is now wondering how he can restore his image in Tsunade's eyes. It will probably be some time before Tsunade gets to know Kodando. He must change Tsunade's opinion of him during this time in order to prevent Tsunade from becoming Katodan's lover. Jiraiya, we both graduated from the ninja school at the same time and trained under the same sensei. Why is there such a big gap between you and Orochimaru? Tsunade turned his attention to Jiraiya again. Orochimaru is what the teacher calls a genius. It's normal that there's a gap between him and me. Jiraiya didn't argue with Tsunade anymore, but just went along with what she said. Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya in surprise, as if he didn't expect such words to come out of Jiraiya's mouth. Because in the past, whenever Tsunade or Sarutobi Hiruzen praised him, Jiraiya would become indignant and shout that sooner or later he would surpass him. Jiraiya, have you been hit by Tsunade's fist? I have to be more careful with my words in the future. I must not let Tsunade's fist fall on me. Orochimaru couldn't help but think that he thought Jiraiya made the change because he was scared by Tsunade. Since you know that there is still a big gap between you and the genius, why don't you work hard to practice? Tsunade continued. If you can surpass geniuses by practicing hard, then what's the point of having geniuses? Jiraiya couldn't help but retort, after today's fight, you will know what a true genius is. I'm looking forward to your performance today. Orochimaru said lightly. Orochimaru, you too, if you want to see Jiraiya get beaten just say so, why be so shy? I'm actually looking forward to it too. Tsunade said. Jiraiya was speechless again, slapped the table and said, you are destined to be disappointed. Your ramen is ready, 3 guests. The ramen was served soon. It tastes really good. Jiraiya took a bite of ramen and couldn't help but praise it. Although this ramen is not Ichiraku ramen, the taste is also very refreshing. After finishing their ramen and Tsunade paying, they headed to the training grounds behind the Hokage building. Their teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen, is the third Hokage and has many government affairs to deal with every day, so in a week, Sarutobi Hiruzen only has one day to teach the three of them. When they arrived at the training grounds, they found Sarutobi Hiruzen already there, smoking a bong. "Good morning, teacher." Jiraiya and the others walked closer and greeted Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly. Sarutobi Hiruzen is now in his prime, and although he is not wearing the Hokage robe at this time, his aura is extremely powerful. "In today's fight, you may not win, but you must not get hurt. Do you hear me?" Sarutobi Hiruzen said to the three of them. "I heard you, teacher." Jiraiya and the others responded respectfully. "Jiraiya, are you nervous about the upcoming fight?" Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Jiraiya. "Teacher, I'm not nervous." Jiraiya replied. "You're not nervous?" Sarutobi Hiruzen said in surprise. "Teacher, should I be nervous?" Jiraiya asked curiously, not knowing why Sarutobi Hiruzen would react like that. "With your strength, you will definitely be beaten badly in the next competition. Shouldn't you be nervous?" Sarutobi Hiruzen asked back. Jiraiya was speechless for a while, and couldn't help but say, "Teacher, in a fight of this level, I will be the only one who beats others, and I will never be beaten. Just wait and see, I will definitely surprise you. You are worthy of being my apprentice. You are so ambitious. As long as you can last 3 minutes without losing in a fight, I will teach you the water-style technique that you want to learn." Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he exhaled a puff of smoke. Water-style technique is also a perception-based ninjutsu, but this ninjutsu has great limitations and can only be used in places with water. As long as the chakra is guided into the water flow, a water mirror will appear in front of the caster, allowing the caster to see the scene in the water. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also a very famous voyeur in the Hokage world. He masters many perception-type ninjutsu. Since he became the third Hokage, in order to maintain the stability of Konoha village, he often uses a crystal ball to spy on all the ninjas in the village and find out what they are thinking. As long as they have any ideas that are unfavorable to the village, they will be killed by Anbu the next day. "Teacher, Jiraiya is now a well-known pervert. If you teach him this ninjutsu, who would dare to take a bath?" Tsunade immediately said anxiously upon hearing this. "Tsunade, why are you so excited? Do you really think that Jiraiya can go 3 minutes undefeated?" Orochimaru said calmly. "He definitely can't rely on the ninjutsu and taijutsu he has mastered. He will be defeated in less than a minute." Tsunade replied. "So why are you so excited?" Orochimaru said. "That's right." Tsunade nodded. Jiraiya was speechless again. "Damn it, I guarantee that all of your eyes will pop out of their sockets later. Sensei, Elder Danzo won't be bringing his apprentice here for another while yet. Would you mind teaching us a new jutsu in the meantime?" Orochimaru said to Sarutobi Hiruzen. His goal now is to surpass Sarutobi Hiruzen and master all the ninjutsu in the ninja world. "Orochimaru, don't worry. If I teach you new ninjutsu now, you will definitely be distracted from the upcoming competition. I will teach you new ninjutsu after you finish the competition." Sarutobi Hiruzen was extremely pleased with what Orochimaru said. Of the 3 disciples he mentioned, Sarutobi Hiruzen was the most satisfied with Orochimaru, and he already intended to train Orochimaru as his successor. "I have a very high opinion of him, and think he is a rare talent that only appears once in decades. If Orochimaru does not defect in the future, he will most likely become the 4th Hokage." When Orochimaru defected, Sarutobi Hiruzen was at the peak of his strength and could have easily killed Orochimaru, but in the end he couldn't bear to do it and let Orochimaru go. Otherwise, if Sarutobi Hiruzen had issued a kill order at that time, there would have been no way Orochimaru would have left Konoha village alive. "Orochimaru, have you learned any new ninjutsu these days?" Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, taking a puff of his pipe. "Teacher, I have learned another B-rank ninjutsu passed down from my family," Orochimaru replied. Orochimaru's family is also a ninja family, and they have special techniques, but almost all the ninjas in the family died in the First World War, and now only Orochimaru is left. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 6. Can you please stop mentioning me? The ninjutsu that Orochimaru mastered were basically the family secrets, because throughout the entire Hokage world, Only Orochimaru and his apprentice Mitarashi Anko could use snake release, and no other ninja had this ability. "Show me how powerful it is," Sarutobi Hiruzen said to him. Orochimaru nodded, looked at the wooden stakes in the training ground, and then began to make seals quickly with his hands. Jiraiya felt the chakra in Orochimaru's body gathering towards his wrist. Evil snake wrist explosion. After Orochimaru completed the seal, he shook his sleeves violently, and two huge pythons emerged from his sleeves, pounced on the wooden stake at an extremely fast speed, and tightly wrapped around it. The giant snake was moving so fast that Jiraiya could only see a trail of afterimages. Such a rich chakra. Jiraiya could feel that the two giant pythons contained a large amount of chakra. The giant python wrapped around the stake, and Orochimaru began to form seals with his hands again. Jiraiya sensed the chakra contained in the two giant pythons, and it gathered towards one place, and then he heard two loud noises. The two giant pythons suddenly exploded, and the wooden stakes were blown to pieces. Many deep pits were blown out on the ground, and black liquid splashed around and dripped onto the ground, emitting thick purple smoke. "What an amazing technique," Tsunade said in admiration. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. The ninjutsu displayed by Orochimaru was indeed extremely powerful. It was fast, powerful, and also contained poison. Once the enemy is tied up by the giant python, even if he is not killed by the explosion, he will be contaminated by the toxin, causing his strength to be greatly reduced. The only downside is that it takes Orochimaru a long time to prepare when performing the spell, and the concentration of chakra is extremely obvious, which can be easily sensed by the enemy, and they need to prepare in advance. However, shortcomings like this will gradually disappear as one becomes more proficient in ninjutsu. This is a very good ninjutsu. With this ninjutsu, you will not lose in the next competition. Sarutobi Hiruzen also spoke highly of Orochimaru's jutsu. The only thing you need to pay attention to is that when you are making hand seals to refine chakra, the flow of chakra is too obvious and Jiraiya will definitely be able to sense it. So when you use this technique in a duel, try to use it in the dark. Of course, this is not a big problem. As you become more and more proficient in this ninjutsu, this situation will disappear. Sarutobi Hiruzen reminded Orochimaru. "Teacher, could you please stop using me as an example? I also have to save my face, okay?" Jiraiya said helplessly. "If you knew how to save face, you wouldn't go to the women's bathhouse to peep so often." Tsunade added from the side. Jiraiya gave up struggling, thinking it was unrealistic to restore his image in a short period of time. Wind-style great breakthrough. Orochimaru formed seals with his hands, opened his mouth, and blew out a fierce gust of wind towards the poisonous smoke that was spreading over the wooden stake. When the strong wind blew, the poisonous smoke disappeared completely. Wind-style great breakthrough is a wind attribute ninjutsu, and basically all ninjas with wind attribute chakra will practice it. Because this ninjutsu is easy to practice and its power is quite strong. When Orochimaru performed this technique just now, he did not reveal its true power. Not long after, Danzo, with one eye bandaged, arrived at the training ground with his 3 apprentices. Jiraiya looked at Danzo with bandages on and couldn't help but feel disgusted. Because the eye under Danzo's bandage was stolen from his teammate Uchiha Kagami. Whether it is Danzo or Sarutobi Hiruzen, they are extremely distrustful of the Uchiha clan and believe that the existence of the Uchiha clan will always affect the stability of the village. The reason why they had such thoughts was also influenced by the will of the second Hokage. Because the second Hokage is extremely prejudiced against the Uchiha clan. Even so, it doesn't justify Danzo's ambush and killing of his teammate Uchiha Kagami during the retreat in order to steal the Sharingan. Danzo stole Uchiha Kagami's Sharingan, and Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally knew about this. Instead of punishing Danzo, he appointed Danzo as the Hokage's assistant and gave him great power. That's because Sarutobi Hiruzen understood that as the Hokage, there were many things he couldn't do personally, because the Hokage could not have any stain, and the shady things could only be handed over to others, and the ruthless Danzo was the best candidate. This is why Sarutobi Hiruzen allowed Danzo to establish the route based on Anbu. Although in the original Hokage story, it is said that everything Danzo did was for Konoha village. But Jiraiya disagrees, and thinks that when Pain invaded Konoha, Danzo hid in the dark with his root men in order to run for Hokage, and watched Tsunade being seriously injured and the village ninjas being slaughtered without taking any action. This alone cannot be used to wash away the blame. Strictly speaking, Danzo is actually a pitiful character. He finally became the acting Hokage, but was killed by Sasuke not long after. When he was alive, he also took a lot of blame for Sarutobi Hiruzen. Because most of the shady things Danzo did were actually approved by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Greetings, Hokage-sama. Danzo and his 3 apprentices said respectfully to Sarutobi Hiruzen. The ninjas of Konoha village all respect the Hokage very much and regard him as an idol, so when they meet him, they will greet him respectfully. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Jiraiya then looked at Danzo's apprentices, namely Aburame Ryoma, Yamanaka Ike, and Akamaiki Mizan. Each of Danzo's disciples came from a large clan in Konoha. The Aburame clan, the Yamanaka clan, and the Akamaiki clan can all be regarded as the founding families of Konoha village. They joined Konoha village when it was first established. Furthermore, all 3 families made great names for themselves in the battle against Hokage. Among Danzo's 3 disciples, Aburame Ryoma is also quite famous. After becoming a Jonin, he joined Anbu. In the history of Anbu, he possessed the most powerful invasion technology and brought a lot of important information to Konoha village. Later, when Danzo established the route, he joined the route and became Danzo's left and right arms, and was highly valued by Danzo. As for the other 2 disciples, Jiraiya had never heard of their stories as they all played minor roles. Hokage-sama, when do you think the competition will begin? Danzo asked Sarutobi Hiruzen in a very respectful tone. Although he was extremely jealous of Sarutobi Hiruzen becoming Hokage, he still had great respect for Sarutobi Hiruzen. In his eyes, the title of Hokage was absolutely inviolable. Chapter 7 The battle begins. As for when he was old, Danzo sent Kakashi and Yamato to assassinate Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was also old, because he had completely fallen into darkness in his heart in order to become Hokage. He could no longer accept Sarutobi Hiruzen becoming Hokage again, so he did such extreme things. After all, Danzo at that time had gone completely crazy in order to become Hokage. Now Danzo still admires Sarutobi Hiruzen very much, because under Sarutobi Hiruzen's governance, Konoha village is slowly becoming stronger again. We can start drawing lots now. I also want to see early how capable your apprentice is. It was you who proposed this duel. It seems that you are very confident in your apprentice's ability. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, taking a puff of his pipe. The skills I teach my apprentices are definitely not comparable to those of the Hokage. The reason I proposed the duel is to let them know the gap between each other and to better motivate them to practice. Danzo said quickly, very humble. Danzo, I'm busy with government affairs every day and have little time to guide them. I might make a fool of myself today. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a laugh. Danzo didn't respond, but looked at Jiraiya and the others and said, you all already know about the competition, so I don't need to say anything more. Next, I want to solemnly declare that you can use all kinds of ninja tools and ninjutsu during the competition, without any restrictions. Once the competition begins, you must treat the other party as a real enemy and absolutely cannot have any mercy. You don't need to worry about harming the other party's life. With me and the Hokage here, the situation will never get out of control. There is no need to have any concerns or worries. The only thing you have to do is to kill the other party as soon as possible. Do you understand? Jiraiya agreed very much with Danzo's sharp words. Because only in this way can you accumulate real practical experience. If you are restrained, there will be no point in fighting. I understand, teacher. Understood, Elder Danzo. Jiraiya and the others replied. The scope of the duel is within the entire training ground. As long as you stay within the training ground, you can fight however you want. Next, you will take turns to draw lots here. Those who draw the same lot will become opponents. Danzo then took out 2 sets of wooden sticks and held them in both hands. The wooden sticks in his 2 hands were the same. Aburame Ryoma and the others drew the one in his right hand, and Jiraiya and the others drew the one in his left hand. Soon they came forward one by one and drew the wooden sticks. Jiraiya took the wooden stick in his hand, looked down, and found a number printed on it. It looks like he will be the first to go. Jiraiya was somewhat satisfied with this number, because in this way, he could make Tsunade and the others' eyes pop out prematurely. Jiraiya looked at Aburame, Ryoma and the others, wondering who among them would be lucky enough to draw number 1 and become his opponent. Now that you have all drawn lots, the competition will begin with lot number 1. Those who have drawn lot number 1 may begin the competition. Danzo spoke up. Jiraiya took a step forward holding the wooden stick, and Aburame Ryoma also stepped out from the other side. Seeing that his opponent was Aburame Ryoma, Jiraiya secretly exclaimed that he had bad luck. Among Danzo's 3 disciples, Aburame Ryoma is the most powerful and the opponent he least wants to meet, not that he is afraid of Ryoma. It's because the ninjas of the Aburame clan feed the insects with their own chakra, let the insects parasitize their bodies, and control the insects. All of their ninjutsu are released by the insects. They are extremely difficult to deal with, and it takes a lot of effort to defeat them. Jiraiya and Ryoma walked towards the center of the training ground. I didn't expect Jiraiya's luck to be so bad. He drew Ryoma. It seems that he can't even last a minute. How about we guess how long it will take for Jiraiya to yell and admit defeat? Sarutobi Hiruzen is also a person with a bad taste, and he likes to make fun of his apprentices on weekdays. Teacher, do we need to guess about this kind of thing? Once Jiraiya and Ryoma fight and see the power of Ryoma's ninjutsu, he will definitely admit defeat directly. Tsunade replied. I feel the same as Tsunade, Orochimaru said immediately afterwards. Jiraiya, you are no match for me. Just admit defeat. I don't want to waste time on such nonsense. Ryoma spoke coldly to Jiraiya. Jiraiya now has a great reputation as the last one in the ranking. Ryoma doesn't want to fight Jiraiya, the person he wants to fight the most is Orochimaru. Because in his heart, Orochimaru is the most proud disciple of the 3rd Hokage. It was an honor for him to fight against Orochimaru, and it also showed how big the gap was between him and the genius. As for fighting Jiraiya, he had no interest in doing so. Jiraiya was surprised to find that there were quite a few people in Konoha village who loved to show off. You will pay dearly for talking to me like that. It is impolite not to reciprocate, so Jiraiya naturally had to pretend to be nice. It's really boring. Since you want to embarrass yourself, you can't blame me. Longma said. Danzo saw Jiraiya and Ryoma showing off to each other, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he ordered, the fight begins. Whoosh! As soon as Danzo finished speaking, Ryoma used the body flicker technique and jumped into a forest west of the training ground. This training ground is extremely large, with not only woods but also streams and mountains, making it suitable for ninjas of all attributes to practice here. Ryoma escaped into the woods. That was because their clan's secret techniques were all about how to use insects. They were very weak in physical skills. Once the enemy got close to them, many ninjutsu could not be used. Therefore, when the Aburame clan breaks out into a battle with the enemy, they will immediately hide in the dark and then control the insects to attack the enemy. They have bugs as their sight, so even if they can't see the enemy when hiding, they can still sense the enemy's position. Ryoma disappeared into the woods, and Jiraiya could no longer sense him. It seems that Ryoma has already harbored a chakra-covering bug in his body. Now that he has not cultivated any perception-type ninjutsu, it is almost impossible for him to sense Ryoma's location in the woods. Jiraiya did not hesitate at all and used the body flicker technique as well, quickly leaping from his spot and escaping towards the woods. The reason why he chose this was to be closer to Longma. He had not practiced any perception-type ninjutsu, so if he wanted to find Aburame Ryoma, he could only wait for the other party to launch a ninjutsu attack, capture the chakra flow at that moment, and then determine Ryoma's location. Because no matter how secretly Ryoma hides, when he performs ninjutsu, chakra must flow in his body, thus revealing his aura. Chapter 8 Show Operation. What on earth is this idiot Jiraiya doing? Why is he escaping into the woods? Isn't he just making himself a sitting duck? Tsunade saw Jiraiya's actions and couldn't help but clench her fists again. She now thought that Jiraiya was seeking death by entering the woods on his own initiative. Because it is not easy to dodge in the woods, and in that environment, the insects of the Aburame clan are more difficult to find and resist. After all, the insects are very small in size, and there are too many obstructions in the woods, which are extremely suitable for insects to hide. It is possible that there are insects from the Aburame clan hidden under every leaf. Jiraiya is right to do this. He doesn't have any perception-based ninjutsu. He can only try to get close to Ryoma and wait for him to perform a ninjutsu to see if he can sense him. Then he can launch a counterattack and force Ryoma out of the dark. Only in this way can he have a chance of winning. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Jiraiya's intention at a glance. I thought Jiraiya would just give up, but I didn't expect him to still want to win. It's really surprising. Orochimaru was also very surprised by Jiraiya's behavior. Maybe Jiraiya can really give us some surprises. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also very much looking forward to Jiraiya's next performance. What surprises can he give us? Tsunade said with a pout. Whoosh, whoosh. As Jiraiya entered the woods, 2 kunai flashing with cold light flew in front of him. Jiraiya took out the shuriken hanging on his waist and swung it forward. Bump. There was a sound of metal colliding, and 2 kunai were knocked down by Jiraiya's shuriken and fell to the ground. Jiraiya landed on a thick branch and looked around, but found no trace of Ryoma. The trees were all overgrown, severely obstructing the view. I didn't expect this guy to have the guts to catch up with me. Ryoma, hiding in the dark, originally thought that Jiraiya did not have the courage to follow him into the woods, and Jiraiya's behavior also exceeded his expectations. Now Longma was lying under a dead leaf, with many gray insects covering his body, obscuring his breath. Immediately afterwards, a large number of black insects with transparent wings crawled out from under Longma's sleeves. After crawling out, these insects immediately drilled into the dead leaves on the ground, and then crawled silently in the direction of Jiraiya. Ryoma did not use any ninjutsu to release the bugs, so there was no sound. It's really a headache not to have a perception-type ninjutsu. Jiraiya kept jumping on the trees, searching for Ryoma's trace, but found nothing. If he had mastered the wind-style technique, he would never be like he is now, in the dark, waiting passively. The insects crawled very fast. Even though Jiraiya was constantly jumping, the swarm of insects that Ryoma had released earlier was able to keep up with Jiraiya's speed. Just as Jiraiya jumped up from a tree and was about to jump to the tree in front, Ryoma quickly formed seals with both hands. Ninja technique Mushiro. The insects that were originally crawling under the leaves all flapped their wings and suddenly soared into the sky. They all released their chakras and connected with each other to form a thin insect rope, which wrapped around Jiraiya. Jiraiya was in midair at this time and couldn't dodge at all. It can be said that Ryoma's timing of attack was very good, which immediately put Jiraiya into a difficult situation. Without any surprise, Jiraiya was directly tied up by the bug rope and fell to the ground. The bugs began to crawl on Jiraiya's body, constantly shrinking the bug ropes, completely binding Jiraiya's hands and body together, making him unable to move. Once a ninja loses his hands and can no longer make hand seals, he is no different from an ordinary person. It's over, Ryoma said softly. In the next second, he was dumbfounded, because the Jiraiya he bound suddenly turned into smoke and dissipated with a bang. What he trapped was just a clone. When did this happen? Ryoma was extremely shocked, because Jiraiya was under his insect watch the whole time, and he didn't see Jiraiya perform the shadow clone technique at all. Teacher, when did Jiraiya use the shadow clone technique? Not only Ryoma looked confused, but even Tsunade, who had been watching the battle, did not see when Jiraiya used the shadow clone technique. Jiraiya had already performed the shadow clone technique when he first entered the woods. The Jiraiya you see now has always been his clone. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke up. When Jiraiya just entered the woods, he found that he was surrounded by trees, so he directly used the shadow clone technique, and his real body hid behind a tree. Aburame Ryoma is not a member of the Hyuga clan and does not have the extremely heaven-defying insight of the Byakugan, so he did not realize that Jiraiya's true body had been hiding behind the tree. Teacher, there was indeed a blind spot when Jiraiya entered the woods, but with Jiraiya's speed, that blind spot could only block him for a second at most. Did he perform the shadow clone technique in that second? Orochimaru asked with a serious look on his face. Jiraiya did not stay in that blind spot for too long, so he could only use the shadow clone technique within 1 second. If he stayed too long, it would definitely arouse Ryoma's suspicion, and he would definitely release insects to explore that blind spot, and Jiraiya's plan would fail. The reason why Ryoma fell into the trap was that he did not expect that Jiraiya could use the shadow clone technique in just 1 second. Yes, Jiraiya just performed the shadow clone technique in just 1 second. I was also very surprised. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and said, Sensei, are you sure Jiraiya can complete all the seals of shadow clone technique in 1 second? Tsunade said in disbelief. They practiced shadow clone technique together, and when he and Orochimaru learned it, Jiraiya hadn't even figured out the hand seals yet. Now suddenly I heard the teacher say that Jiraiya can perform shadow clone technique in 1 second. This is even more unbelievable than Jiraiya not going to the women's bathhouse to peek for a week. This is indeed hard to believe, but Jiraiya really did it. Danzo, who was standing aside, said, and was also very surprised by Jiraiya's speed in forming seals. Fire-style flame bomb. When Ryoma was casting the bug rope, Jiraiya, who had mobilized chakra, had sensed it and immediately cast the body flicker technique to get closer to it. Then, while moving, he quickly formed seals with his hands and a fireball emitting scorching heat spewed out of his mouth. Chapter 9, Ninjutsu of the Aburame clan. The fireball whizzed away, and all the leaves along the way were ignited one by one. Jiraiya did not use his full fire-style flame bomb, he only released one flame bomb. This would allow Ryoma to misjudge his strength. In this way, he can better defeat Longma in the next battle. Some strategies are extremely useful in battles between ninjas. A good strategy can definitely allow a less powerful ninja to defeat a stronger opponent. Among the Chunin at this level, ninjas who have mastered the fire-style flame bomb can almost only release one flame bomb. Ryoma would never have dreamed that he could release 3 fire bombs at the same time. I can give Longma a big surprise later. When Ryoma discovered that it was Jiraiya's clone who was bound by the ninjutsu, he knew that he had been exposed and prepared to use the defensive ninjutsu, insect release, insect wall. When the fire bomb was about to fall on him, a large number of black beetles flew out from his body and quickly gathered together to form an insect wall, which looked like a black shield from a distance. This jutsu is the most commonly used jutsu by the Aburame clan. The strength of the defense depends entirely on the controlled insects. Boom! The fire bomb hit the insect wall, making a loud bang and sparks flying, and a burnt smell immediately appeared in the air. Half of the black beetles that formed a wall of insects were directly burned and fell to the ground. Aburame Ryoma felt a trace of pain in his eyes, because breeding ninja insects was not an easy task. After blocking the fire bomb, Aburame Ryoma immediately used the body flicker technique and continued to escape deeper into the woods, trying to hide again. Jiraiya naturally would not let Ryoma succeed again, so he used the body flicker technique to follow up, and took out 3 shuriken and shot them at Ryoma's back. Ryoma also threw out 3 shurikens with his backhand. There was a sound of metal collision, and the shurikens fell to the ground one after another. The power of ordinary shurikens is extremely limited and it is difficult to hurt the enemy, except when there are a large number of them. Only shuriken made of special metals that can guide chakra can have great power. However, ninja tools like these are extremely precious and extremely difficult to obtain. Bug escape bug rope. Seeing Jiraiya chasing him closely, Ryoma once again released the insect with transparent wings, which condensed into a rope and wrapped around Jiraiya. Jiraiya took out several more shurikens and threw them at the bugs. Due to the extremely fast speed of this insect, the insect rope it formed was also extremely flexible. It easily avoided the shuriken and approached Jiraiya with a buzzing sound. It's really troublesome. Jiraiya formed seals with his hands and once again unleashed the fire-style flame bomb. A fireball emitting an astonishing temperature whizzed forward. Before the fireballs hit the bugs, they made crackling sounds and fell to the ground. Fire style is extremely effective against bug escape, as most bugs are afraid of high temperatures. The insects condensed into insect ropes are fast enough, but their defense is far weaker than that of the black beetles and they are extremely fragile. Jiraiya killed all the bugs with just one fire bomb. Teacher, why do I feel that the power of Jiraiya's fire bomb is much greater than before? Tsunade, who was watching the battle outside, said with some uncertainty. She had fought with Jiraiya in the past and was well aware of the power of Jiraiya's fire bomb. In a previous duel, she even used her fists to smash the fire bullet that Jiraiya spat out into pieces without any injury. But the power of the fire bomb that Jiraiya now unleashed was astonishing. It is indeed stronger than before. The fire-style flame bombs that Jiraiya uses now contain more concentrated chakra than before. When you compete with Jiraiya in the future, you must never use your fists to block them, otherwise you will get burned. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. I am even more looking forward to Jiraiya's next performance. He actually accepted Jiraiya as his apprentice out of political considerations. Because Jiraiya was born into a civilian family and his parents died in the war, he accepted Jiraiya as his apprentice, and some of the lower-level civilian ninjas would respect him even more. Otherwise, he would definitely not have accepted Jiraiya as his apprentice. In fact, he was planning to give up on Jiraiya in his heart because Jiraiya's qualifications were really too poor. In the original work, if Jiraiya had not reverse summoned to teleport himself to Mount Myoboku and met the Great Toad Sage while practicing the summoning technique, he might never have become a Jonin in his life. Now that Jiraiya has suddenly become stronger, Sarutobi Hiruzen is also extremely happy. No one wants to accept a waste as a disciple. The only disciple Sarutobi Hiruzen truly wanted to take on was Orochimaru. He chose Tsunade as his apprentice out of political considerations, in order to better win over the Senju clan and suppress the Uchiha clan. Did he pretend to be so weak on purpose before? Orochimaru couldn't help but wonder in his mind when he saw how strong Jiraiya had suddenly become. It's absolutely impossible for you to slip away from under my nose again, Jiraiya said loudly, continuing to spit fire bullets at Ryoma. Anyway, he has a sage body, and his chakra can withstand his consumption. On the other hand, the bugs on Aburame Ryoma's body cannot be endless, and sooner or later there will be a moment when they are used up. The black beetles on Aburame Ryoma's body were rapidly decreasing. After finding that he could not shake off Jiraiya, he jumped onto a tree, turned around quickly, and threw out 3 bugs. It looks very strange, just like a ball with 4 pairs of wings. The wings are also very strange, as thin as cicada wings, but shaped like a knife. Bug escape, bug cut. Longma formed seals with his hands and shouted loudly. He then saw that 3 insects that were originally only the size of fingernails suddenly had huge chakras emerging from their bodies, and their size instantly became the size of a palm. The wings also began to flap, and a wind attribute chakra covered them, making the wings, which were originally as sharp as knives, become even sharper. 3 insects rushed towards Jiraiya. As they flew, they created wind blades. Wherever they flew, the trees were instantly cut off by the wind blades. The wind blades were extremely sharp and powerful. This insect is called the Kazakiri insect, and it is a special insect that the Aburame clan has spent a lot of effort to cultivate. This insect contains a large amount of wind attribute chakra and can be used in conjunction with various wind-style ninjutsu. Fire-style flame bomb. Jiraiya formed seals with his hands and once again spurted out a fire bomb, covering the 3 ninja insects. But before the fire bomb could hit the insect, it was cut and blown away by the wind blade. Chapter 10 Who Spread the Rumors? What a powerful bug. Jiraiya's eyes focused. Although the fireball was cut off and blown away before it got close to the insect must have sensed the amazing temperature it emitted, but it was not affected by the high temperature at all. Jiraiya jumped towards the ground. For a ninjutsu of this level, he had to use special defensive ninjutsu to block it. The only ninjutsu he currently possesses is the earth-style earth array wall, which can only be used when he is close to the ground. He is not yet able to condense the earth attribute chakra directly into his mouth. Earth-style earth wall. Jiraiya had already formed the seal while falling, and when he landed on the ground, he slammed his hands, and a wall of earth quickly rose in front of him. Boom. Then a series of explosions sounded in Jiraiya's ears, and the earth wall in front began to shake. 3 insects, carrying a large number of wind blades, had already bombarded the earth wall. The earth wall shook violently, and a lot of dust and rubble fell down, but no cracks appeared, and it was still able to withstand the attack of Longma. When did Jiraiya learn the earth style? He seems to be very skilled in using it. If he had already mastered this ninjutsu, he would definitely show off to us. Did he learn it recently? Tsunade said in astonishment again when she saw Jiraiya use earth style. She now found that Jiraiya suddenly became a little strange. It is very likely that he has been hiding his strength. Orochimaru said, also in shock. With his personality, it would be difficult for him to hide his strength, right? Tsunade thought about how Jiraiya used to show off every time he learned a ninjutsu in the past, and those ninjutsu were all ones they had already learned a long time ago. Orochimaru said that Jiraiya was hiding his strength on purpose in the past, and Tsunade really didn't believe it. Perhaps his talent has only recently been revealed. Jiraiya's performance from the beginning of the fight until now has made him extremely satisfied. But Danzo's expression became a little unnatural. Ryoma is his most proud disciple, and he has high hopes for Ryoma. After his observation, he believes that Ryoma at least has the ability to defeat Tsunade and Jiraiya. That's why he proposed a contest between disciples to Sarutobi Hiruzen. He just wanted to defeat Sarutobi Hiruzen in this aspect. But judging from the current situation, it would be a little difficult for Aburame Ryoma to defeat Jiraiya. You think you can evade my ninjutsu by means like this? You are underestimating me. Aburame Ryoma said coldly, and formed seals with his hands again. He saw the chakra in 2 of the insects suddenly gathered together, and then began to compress rapidly, and then suddenly exploded. A large number of wind blades burst out instantly and slashed on the earth wall. This ninjutsu is the most powerful ninjutsu that Ryoma has mastered. Although it is a B-level ninjutsu, its power is definitely among the top B-level ninjutsu. Click. Dense cracks immediately appeared on the earth wall and it began to collapse. Danzo, you have a good apprentice, but it's just that Chunin has already mastered this jutsu. Sarutobi Hiruzen also praised Ryoma's performance. Hokage-sama, this boy is not worthy of your praise. Danzo said modestly. Ryoma is definitely one of the top players in Chunin. The earth wall began to collapse, and the bug that did not explode instantly broke through the earth wall and hit Jiraiya. Then a large number of wind blades also slashed on Jiraiya's body. But before Ryoma could show any joy, he saw Jiraiya's body turned into a pool of mud. Body replacement technique, when did he perform it? Ryoma widened his eyes and made an expression of disbelief. At the moment the earth wall collapsed, he controlled the insects to hit Jiraiya. Could it be that Jiraiya completed the body replacement technique seal at the moment the earth wall collapsed? Just as Ryoma thought, at the moment when the earth wall collapsed, Jiraiya completed the seal of the earth-style earth stand. The single person had already flashed to the side, and the only one left in place was a stand. What a fast seal-making speed. This time, Tsunade saw Jiraiya performing hand seals at an incredibly fast speed, and couldn't help but speak in surprise. Who on earth spread the rumor that Jiraiya was the last one in the class? Longma couldn't help but curse in his heart. How does Jiraiya's performance look like waste? If Jiraiya is trash, then what are they? Now Longma wants to find the guy who spread the rumors and give him a good beating. Now when he thought about what he had just said in front of Jiraiya, he felt embarrassed. It was simply too embarrassing. Fire-style flame bomb. Jiraiya formed seals with his hands and spit out a fireball, hitting the last bug. The ninja insect's chakra is now severely depleted, and its wings can no longer emit wind blades. This time the fireball hit the ninja bug very successfully. Squeak. The insect let out a painful cry. Although the fire bomb did not burn the ninja insect to death immediately, the chakra oil contained in it had already wrapped around the ninja insect's body and was continuing to burn. Not long after, the ninja bug stopped making any movement. Longma showed a look of great pain. He had 3 insects like this in total, and now he lost them all at once, which made him extremely painful. He cannot cultivate this kind of insect himself and can only exchange it from the elders of the family. He must pass many tests of the family before he can obtain it. Fire-style flame bomb. Jiraiya eliminated the ninja bugs and spewed a fireball at Ryoma. Longma already knew the approximate power of the fire bomb. In order to avoid wasting too many black beetles, after all, each insect was extremely precious, so he only released a small number of black beetles to condense into an insect wall to resist the fire bomb. There were just enough bugs to block one fire bomb. Longma is absolutely confident in his own judgment. He never wastes a bug by doing this. Jiraiya smiled when he saw this scene. Ryoma finally took the bait. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. 2 more fire bombs shot out of his mouth. What? Longma couldn't help but exclaim, his eyes suddenly widened. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 11 Who is slandering me? Ryoma never expected that Jiraiya could fire 3 fire bombs at once. He was just feeling smug about the number of insects he had controlled and was giving himself a thumbs up, but in the blink of an eye, he was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. What the hell? Chunin was able to use fire style and spit out 3 fire bombs at once. Before I think of it, Jiraiya was able to use earth stand at that speed. Ryoma felt that Jiraiya, who was also a Chunin, was a little too bullying and had no awareness of being a Chunin. Couldn't he do what a Chunin was supposed to do? He suddenly felt that life was so difficult. He came to the training ground today just to have a competition among the Chunin, not to watch Jiraiya show off his skills. Ryoma yelled as he broke down internally. Pa! Pa! The first fire bombarded the insect wall, and the insects burned and made a loud bang, but it also exhausted the power of this fire bomb. The remaining 2 fireballs emitted extremely high temperatures and blasted towards Longma. Ryoma now had no time to perform ninjutsu defense, nor could he dodge. Because when he used the insect wall, he didn't expect this situation at all. Because Chunin uses fire-style flame bombs, since the establishment of Konoha village, there has never been anyone like Jiraiya who can spray 3 flame bombs in a row. Only some Jonin of the Grandmaster fire style are able to do this. Of course, if some Chunin practiced fire-style flame bombs day and night, they could also do this, but it would take a huge amount of time. Few Chunin could persevere. After all, with that time, they might as well practice other ninjutsu. As far as Ryoma knew, Jiraiya would hang out in the largest women's bathhouse in the village whenever she had time, looking for opportunities to peep. It was impossible for her to spend a lot of time practicing the fire-style ninjutsu. But now he can fire 3 missiles in a row, which is simply unfair. Now Longma could only open his eyes wide, revealing deep fear, and wait for the fire bomb to hit him. There was nothing else he could do. Wind-style vacuum sphere. Just when the fireball was about to hit Ryoma, Danzo quickly formed seals with his hands, and sprayed out the wind attribute chakra refined in his mouth, condensing it into a wind ball, and hit the fire bomb at an extremely fast speed. There was a whistling sound of wind, and the wind ball instantly pierced through the 2 fire bombs spit out by Jiraiya, turning them into tiny flames and extinguishing them. After being rescued, Longma collapsed to the ground. He was now covered in sweat. He almost experienced the taste of death just now. Now Longma's whole body exudes a burnt smell, and his hair and eyebrows have been singed. If Danzo had taken his shot a few seconds later, he would have felt like he was going to melt. Seeing his attack being neutralized, Jiraiya couldn't help but turn his head to look at Danzo. Their strength is indeed strong, no wonder they can train powerful organizations like Anbu and Root. Almost all Anbu ninjas and Root ninjas were trained by Danzo. Hokage, the apprentice you teach is truly outstanding. I am ashamed of myself. Danzo said to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Now that Aburame Ryoma has been defeated, it is no longer possible for him to surpass Sarutobi Hiruzen in teaching his apprentice. I didn't teach Jiraiya these skills. His outstanding performance was beyond my expectation. Sarutobi Hiruzen answers. He had never dreamed that Jiraiya could defeat Aburame Ryoma. Jiraiya won the contest, surprising everyone. I must be dreaming, Jiraiya actually won. Tsunade muttered to herself and pinched her face hard. She thought she was dreaming. Danzo now rescues Aburame Ryoma, which naturally means that he has been defeated. Tsunade, I'm already starting to worry about you now. Orochimaru began. Why are you worried about me? Jiraiya can win, do you think I will lose? Tsunade immediately put her hands on her hips and said to Orochimaru. Looking at the angry Tsunade, Orochimaru was also a little scared, and quickly said, you misunderstood me. I don't think you will lose, but I heard from Jiraiya that as long as he can win, you will agree to some of his requests. With his personality, you should have expected what he would ask for, so I am worried about you. Orochimaru, do you think my fists are vegetarian? If he dares to make excessive demands on me, I will smash his head. Tsunade replied, waving his fist. I lost. I apologize for my impolite behavior before. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have looked down on you. Ryoma took a deep breath, stood up again from the ground, bent down and bowed, and spoke to Jiraiya very convincingly with an extremely sincere attitude. Ninjas worship the strong and have great respect for them. He looked down on Jiraiya before, that was because he thought Jiraiya was weak. Now that Jiraiya has defeated him, Ryoma's attitude towards Jiraiya has naturally changed. It's a small matter, no need to apologize. We are all young and it's normal to be a little impatient. But I have to remind you of one thing, if you are not strong and act arrogantly, it will be easy to get stabbed. Jiraiya reminded kindly. Ryoma nodded and walked out of the woods with Jiraiya. Jiraiya, it's amazing how much progress you've made. You've surprised all of us. Danzo praised Jiraiya, and his praise came from the heart. Because Jiraiya's performance in the battle just now was so outstanding. The timing of the battle was perfect, especially the power of the hidden fire bomb, which was fully exposed at the critical moment. At the same time, he was also curious about Jiraiya. Why could he suddenly improve so much? Danzo knew very well what Jiraiya's previous strength was. It's a miracle that we have made so much progress in such a short time. Of course, even if Danzo racked his brains, he could not have imagined that Jiraiya had been possessed by another body and was bound to the system. Elder Danzo, thank you for your praise. The reason why I can make such rapid progress is because I practice day and night. Jiraiya replied. He must hide the existence of the system. If Danzo knew that he had the system, he would definitely be dissected and studied by the Hokage Senior immediately. Really? But I heard that you go to the women's bathhouse to peek whenever you have time. Danzo said with a smile. Elder Danzo, this is a complete slander against me. Who told you this? I will sue him for defamation. Jiraiya said angrily, as if he had really been slandered. Then Jiraiya said a lot more angrily. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Jiraiya in surprise. He didn't expect that his apprentice had a talent for acting. If he didn't know Jiraiya well, he would have believed what Jiraiya said. Orochimaru and Tsunade also had dazed expressions on their faces, and secretly gave Jiraiya a thumbs up. This was the highest realm of lying with open eyes, without blushing or feeling guilty. It was worth learning from them. Chapter 12. Catch it early, enjoy it early. Jiraiya's shameless words once again made Sarutobi Hiruzen look at him with new eyes. But they thought again. Jiraiya often went to the women's bathhouse to peep, and even after being caught many times he showed no remorse, so it was normal for him to be so shameless. It would be strange if you didn't have a thick skin. The second competition begins. Danzo didn't dwell on this topic with Jiraiya and directly announced the start of the second match. Tsunade and Akamaiki drew card number 2 and faced off against each other. Akamaiki Sanzan also comes from the Akamaiki clan, a large clan in the Hokage world. The Akamaiki clan was one of the elder families that joined Konoha when it was first founded. Each generation of clan leaders and elders held important positions among Konoha's high-level officials. The Akamaiki clan is extremely strong, weighing nearly 300 kilograms. Every step he takes, the ground shakes slightly. Akamaiki Sanzan is an extremely outstanding young man in the Akamaiki family. If he had ordinary qualifications, he would not have been accepted as a disciple by Danzo. His weight is the best proof of his qualifications. The Akamaiki clan has mastered the secret technique of converting fat into chakra. The more fat they have, the stronger they are. Gaining weight is also a way of practice for the Akamaiki clan, so the fatter they are, the stronger they are. The Akamaiki clan is definitely one of the strongest clans in Konoha village. If we only talk about the destructive power of physical skills, no other clan can compare with the Akamaiki clan. Even the Hyuga clan, who possess the Byakugan and are equally skilled in taijutsu, cannot compare to them. Because the Hyuga family members have Byakugan, they can observe the direction of the enemy's chakra and various meridian points. The physical skills they practice are basically developed to target various acupoints, and the range of destruction is not large. Of course, this doesn't mean that the Hyuga clan is weak, it's just that the characteristics of their ninjutsu are different. If the Hyuga and Akamaiki clans go to war, the Akamaiki clan will definitely be defeated. After all, the effect of the Byakugan is too heaven-defying. After Tsunade and Akamaiki Sanshin greeted each other, Akamaiki Sanshin took the lead in launching the attack. He quickly formed hand seals, and the chakra in his body gathered towards his right hand. His right hand immediately swelled several times, and he raised his hand to slap Tsunade. Although the palm looks huge, it is not clumsy when swung, but rather extremely fast. This is exactly the famous ninjutsu of the Akamaiki clan, part of the expansion jutsu. The huge palm came down suddenly with a whistling wind, and the power seemed extremely huge. Tsunade's body looked extremely small in front of the huge palm, as if she would be smashed into pieces and turned into meat paste if a palm came down. There was no fear in Tsunade's eyes, and she did not dodge. Instead, she let out a cry and swung her right fist towards the palm. Bang! There was a dull sound as the fist and palm collided. The ground beneath Tsunade's feet sank and cracks appeared, and Akamaiki Sanzan's palm returned to its original shape. In the first fight, it can be said that Tsunade had the upper hand, because Tsunade broke Akamaiki Mizan's ninjutsu with just his physical strength without using any ninjutsu. It was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker. As expected of someone who comes from a big family, he possesses a lot of knowledge. Jiraiya thought in his mind. The place where Tsunade's punch just now instantly dispersed the chakra covering the palms of Akamaiki Mizan, thus breaking the ninjutsu. This cannot be achieved by brute force alone. To achieve this, one must know the gathering points of some of the multiplication chakras. It is obvious that Tsunade knows some of the expansion jutsu chakra gathering points. It seems that I must catch up with Tsunade as soon as possible, so that I can get the Senju clan's recorded books for free. Jiraiya thought to himself that he had to pursue Tsunade as quickly as possible, because the sooner he got her, the sooner he could enjoy her. The family that Tsunade belongs to is almost the most powerful family in Konoha. Although after the death of the first and second Hokage, the Senju clan has been rapidly declining under the deliberate suppression of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo, there are still countless classics recorded in the clan. The Senju clan recorded some characteristics of the ninjutsu of many other major clans, including their weaknesses. If ninjutsu had no weaknesses, the Senju clan would also develop ninjutsu to counter them. After all, the second Hokage's ability to develop ninjutsu is no joke. Almost all the forbidden techniques in Konoha were developed by the second Hokage. Now most of these books have fallen into the hands of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo were both apprentices of the second Hokage, after they became high-ranking officials in Konoha, they did not take care of the Senju clan, but instead targeted them everywhere. During World War II, Senju Nawaki was secretly killed by Danzo, completely cutting off the bloodline of the Senju clan. Of course, this was also at the behest of Sarutobi Hiruzen, otherwise Danzo would never have the guts to assassinate Senju Nawaki. The reason they did this was, first, to maintain the stability of the village, second, to maintain their own regime, and third, to obtain various books of the Senju clan so as to better check and balance other ninja families. The most important thing is to maintain the stability of the village, because a powerful and uncontrollable family is an extremely unstable existence for the village. The Uchiha clan was destroyed because without the suppression of the Senju clan, their strength grew too fast. Sarutobi Hiruzen was afraid that the Uchiha clan would launch a coup, so he and Danzo jointly destroyed the Uchiha clan. Looking at the entire Konoha village, ever since Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo came to power, there has almost never been a family with a bloodline limit in Konoha village. Because Konoha had ninjas with bloodline limits, almost all of them were secretly eliminated by Danzo. Because the offspring born from ninjas with bloodline limits have enormous potential and are extremely difficult to control, they have a dangerous impact on the village. If the Hyuga clan had not divided the family into the main house and branch houses, voluntarily dividing the family's strength, they would certainly have been destroyed. The reason why 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen gave Danzo so much power was to make Danzo help him do these shady things. Because as the Hokage, he cannot allow any stain to spread. Although Danzo never served as Hokage, he served as the Nebekage for his entire life. As the family elders said, the weaknesses of some of our ninjutsu have long been known to other families. Akamaiki Sanshin frowned. His chances of defeating Tsunade were already very low, but he didn't want to admit defeat after just one fight. Human bomb tank. Akamaiki Sanzan formed seals with his hands and used the Akamaiki clan's signature ninjutsu once again. His body swelled several times, and his head and limbs all shrank inward, then turned into a huge ball, which quickly spun, raising a lot of dust, and crashed into Tsunade. Chapter 13 I Will Never Abuse It. The human bomb tank was extremely fast and it got close to Tsunade in just a split second, leaving Tsunade no chance to dodge. Of course Tsunade had no intention of avoiding it. If it comes to strength, I won't lose to anyone. Tsunade said with a fighting spirit all over her body. She formed seals with her hands, suddenly jumped up from the ground, tensed her right leg, and kicked towards the meat chariot, intending to fight it head-on. The ninjutsu performed by Tsunade is called Paintenkyaku, which is also an extremely powerful physical technique. Tsunade has not yet practiced medical ninjutsu, so her way of fighting is to use brute force in combination with physical attacks. Although she did not inherit the wood-style bloodline, she inherited Senju Hashirama's super strength. Because his body is filled with strange strength, Tsunade's physical skills are extremely powerful when he performs them. Bang! There was a dull thud as Tsunade kicked the human bomb tank. The two were in a stalemate for 2 breaths, and then the human bomb tank flew backwards and crashed into the woods behind it. Click, click. A large number of trees were broken, and Akamaiki Sanshin returned to his original appearance, collapsing on the ground, with fear in his eyes. He had long heard that Tsunade possessed terrifying supernatural powers. However, since he had never fought with Tsunade, he thought the rumors were probably exaggerated, but after fighting, he realized that the rumors were true. Tsunade landed on the ground and immediately used the body flicker technique, rushing towards the Akamaiki mountains at such a fast speed that only afterimages could be seen. Super pusher. Akamaiki Sanzan bounced up from the ground and used the partial multiplication again. His hands immediately expanded several times and slapped towards Tsunade at the same time. Ninpu fist. Tsunade shouted and swung her right fist forward again, but this time her fist was covered with a layer of wind attribute chakra, and her punching speed was faster. Just like the previous 2 times, Tsunade once again broke through Akamaiki Mizan's ninjutsu with great ease, remaining unharmed. He then leapt forward and came in front of Akamaiki Mizan. The moment he landed, he swung a straight punch, hitting Akamaiki Miyama directly in the chest. Ah! Akamaiki Sanshin screamed and was blown away. He slid on the ground for a long time before he stopped. Wherever he slid, the land sank and a deep groove appeared. What a terrifying brute force. It seems that if I want to peek at Tsunade taking a bath next time, I must be careful and not be discovered. Jiraiya reminded himself in his heart. In the original work, Jiraiya once peeped at Tsunade taking a bath. He was accidentally discovered by Tsunade and was punched by him, breaking several ribs and causing serious injuries. Now that he has traveled through time, he will never allow such a thing to happen. Before you peek at Tsunade taking a shower, you must be fully prepared and then lean over the window. Puff. Akamaiki-sanshin couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. If the Akamaiki clan were not so thick-skinned, any other chunin who had been hit by this punch would most likely have been carried away by the medical ninja. I give up. Akamaiki-sanshin touched his chest and grinned. Although he was unwilling in his heart, he had no choice but to admit defeat because he was not as strong as his opponent. After all, he didn't want to be punched by Tsunade again. Akamaiki Miyama's strength is not weak. The reason why he was defeated so quickly is entirely because he met Tsunade who possesses superpowers. Danzo's face turned a little ugly. After all, he was the one who proposed the competition, but now he lost 2 games in a row, which made him feel a little embarrassed. As for the third match, there was no doubt that we would not win. Because Orochimaru is a rare genius that only appears once in decades, and his strength is infinitely close to Jonin. He was very clear that his apprentice, Yamanaka Ike, could never be a match for Orochimaru. Only Aburame Ryoma has a chance of defeating Orochimaru. But Ryoma has been defeated by Jiraiya. Therefore, there is no need for a third match. Hokage-sama, I admit defeat in these 3 competitions. My apprentice's ability is far inferior to yours. Danzo simply gave up and let Yamanaka Ike compete with Orochimaru. Because even if the 2 of them were allowed to compete, Yamanaka Ike would definitely be quickly defeated by Orochimaru, and he would then be even more embarrassed. I am not as good as you in teaching apprentices, it's just that they are more talented. Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he took a puff of his pipe and shook his head. Danzo is indeed good at training his apprentices, because most of the masters of Anbu are trained by him. Hokage-sama, Anbu still has some things to take care of, so I'll be leaving now. Danzo didn't want to stay any longer, so he took Aburame Ryoma and the others and left the training ground. Danzo has not yet established roots and is still working in Anbu. After World War II, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that Danzo's power was too great, so he took back control of Anbu. Danzo then established the root. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not stop him but instead gave him some support in order to do some shameful things. Some people also say that Sarutobi Hiruzen moved Danzo out of Anbu in order to allow Danzo to establish roots and to allow Danzo to better take the blame for him. Jiraiya, why is your strength growing so fast? Orochimaru asked, unable to suppress his curiosity. The reason is simple, because I am a genius. Jiraiya said with a smile. Orochimaru was speechless for a moment. Tsunade, I win now. You can't go back on your word about what you promised me yesterday. Jiraiya said to Tsunade with a grin and immediately changed the subject. I never regret anything I said. Tsunade was surprised by Jiraiya's victory, but she had no intention of denying it. I said I would shock all of you. So, I didn't lie to you, did I? Jiraiya said very proudly. He was imitating Jiraiya's previous style of doing things. There's nothing to be proud of for defeating a Chunin, and none of us are shocked by you, Tsunade said with a pout. When I defeated Aburame Ryoma, you were so shocked that your mouth was open. I saw it clearly. Jiraiya said immediately. Tsunade was suddenly speechless. Seeing Tsunade's embarrassment, Jiraiya felt amused. Teacher, I won. It's time to fulfill your promise and teach me water style. Jiraiya said to Sarutobi Hiruzen impatiently. The reason why he wanted to learn the water style technique so much was not to make it easier for him to peep in the women's bathhouse. It is just to better detect the enemy's situation when we encounter the enemy in water in the future. This kind of ninjutsu would never be used in a place like a women's bathhouse. Chapter 14 Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. As a qualified ninja, Jiraiya would never use ninjutsu where it shouldn't be used, unless there were spies or enemies infiltrating the women's bathhouse. The spies in the enemy villages are very good at disguise and rarely reveal their identities on weekdays. Only when taking a shower will all disguises be taken off, which is the easiest time to reveal one's true colors. So after he learned the water style technique, for the safety of the village, he would have to go to the women's bathhouse and conduct a thorough investigation. Jiraiya, your performance today really surprised me, your teacher. I will now teach you the water style technique. Although this ninjutsu has great limitations, it is very concealed and very difficult to detect. Even if it is performed in a situation where there are many people in the women's bathhouse, it is extremely difficult to be detected. Sarutobi Hiruzen said to Jiraiya. Teacher, did you come to this conclusion after practicing it yourself? Jiraiya said with his mouth wide open, as if he had discovered an extremely extraordinary secret. Orochimaru and Tsunade all looked towards Sarutobi Hiruzen as well. Sarutobi Hiruzen then realized that he had let the cat out of the bag, and immediately said, I was just using a metaphor. As a good ninja, I would never use ninjutsu where it shouldn't be used. Teacher, don't be so nervous. Even if you go to the women's bathhouse to perform this ninjutsu, I won't think you are going there to peep. It must be for the safety of the village. You want to check if there are any enemies from the enemy village in the women's bathhouse. Jiraiya replied. Jiraiya, you're right, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. At the same time, remember these words firmly, so that you can use them as an explanation if you are caught peeping in the future. Teacher, you have performed this technique in the bathhouse. Jiraiya said with a raised eyebrow. In the original Hokage, the third generation is a voyeur, often holding a crystal ball and exploring every corner of Konoha. Jiraiya would never believe that he had never seen a women's bathhouse. In fact, what Jiraiya wants to learn most now is the far-sighted technique, a ninjutsu developed by Sarutobi Hiruzen himself. But he also knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen would never give this technique to him easily. Because when Sarutobi Hiruzen used this technique to peek into the bathhouse, it would be so embarrassing if he happened to be seen by him using this ninjutsu. Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that he had been tricked by Jiraiya, and then his face darkened and he said, Jiraiya, do you still want to learn? Jiraiya shut up wisely. If he lost the ninjutsu that could detect the enemy in the women's bathhouse just because of a momentary boast, it would be a huge loss for him. Sarutobi Hiruzen told Jiraiya in detail how to practice the water style technique, and even performed it himself. Water style. Sarutobi Hiruzen formed seals with his hands, and saw a water mirror condensed in front of him. Then, 8 meters in front of him, another water mirror appeared. The scene he illuminated could be clearly seen through the water mirror in front of him. Although this technique can only be performed in places with water, Sarutobi Hiruzen is known as the professor of ninjutsu and has extremely superb mastery of various ninjutsu. He can barely use it in places without water. The only flaw is that the crystal used for detection has no water as a cover, and it is too obvious when suspended in the air. Have you memorized the hand seals and chakra operations? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Jiraiya. Water style is just a C-level ninjutsu. It does not require many seals and is not difficult to learn. I've memorized it, Jiraiya replied. As long as he goes back and practices a few more times, he will be able to use this technique. Teacher, now that the competition is over, what skills are you going to teach us today? Orochimaru asked Sarutobi Hiruzen anxiously. There was only one day a week to learn skills from Sarutobi Hiruzen, so Orochimaru naturally didn't want to waste time. I'm going to teach you an A-rank ninjutsu today, the Shuriken Shadow Clone technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he blew out a smoke ring. Jiraiya didn't expect Sarutobi Hiruzen to be able to use this jutsu so soon. Shuriken Shadow Clone technique is a ninjutsu created by Sarutobi Hiruzen with inspiration from the Shadow Clone technique developed by the second Hokage. It is an extremely difficult ninjutsu that uses chakra to increase the number of shurikens to form a sword formation like a dragnet. When there is enough chakra, shuriken can be divided into tens of thousands at once. It is a combination of ninja tools and ninjutsu. This material shadow clone is more difficult to make than ordinary shadow clone. No preparation is required beforehand, and each shadow clone is a physical entity, which means that each shuriken has extremely strong lethality. The Shuriken Shadow Clone technique is among the A-level ones, and its power is extremely high. Because in the Hokage world he has high offense and low defense, the guy who opens 8 gate can distort the space, but at the same time a shuriken can also take his life. Shuriken Shadow Clone technique, just need to throw out a shuriken first, and then use the spell to separate the shadow clone with a physical body. As long as the enemy is not aware of this technique, he will almost certainly be hit. Being shot by so many shurikens, even a cage-level warrior would die with hatred. It can be said that Shuriken Shadow Clone technique is definitely a sneak attack magic. Sarutobi Hiruzen then gave a detailed introduction to the shuriken shadow clone technique. Teacher, this ninjutsu can actually make the shuriken split into real clones. Tsunade couldn't help but ask in shock. When he first heard the name of this ninjutsu, Tsunade thought it was an illusion. If I can't create a substantial clone, how can I classify this ninjutsu as an A-level ninjutsu? Sarutobi Hiruzen replied. Teacher, shuriken are just ninja tools and do not contain any chakra. How can they be differentiated into actual clones? Orochimaru asked puzzledly. The shadow clone technique they practiced was to evenly differentiate the chakra in the body, and then form a substantial shadow clone. But shuriken is just a dead object and does not contain any chakra at all. It seems impossible to make its clone have a real clone. Ninja tools don't have chakra, but we ninjas do. If you want to perform this technique successfully, the first thing you have to do is to continuously inject chakra into the shuriken. The more chakra you inject, the more substantial clones you can create. Sarutobi Hiruzen explained. But teacher, shurikens made of ordinary metal have extremely poor chakra guidance. Even if we can continuously inject chakra into them, they cannot sustain the consumption of A-level ninjutsu. Jiraiya frowned and said. The shurikens they carry with them now are all made of ordinary metals, not special metals, and are simply unable to guide chakra in large quantities. Only some ninja tools made of special metals can guide chakra in large quantities. Chapter 15 Such a good tongue is wasted. In the Hokage world, ordinary iron ore is a scarce resource and a strategic resource that countries must compete for. In addition, the refining technology in the Hokage world is very backward, and metals are extremely scarce. Not to mention the special metal that can guide chakra. Even though Konoha is the strongest ninja village, special metals are extremely scarce. According to Jiraiya's understanding, there are very limited weapons in the entire Konoha that can be forged with special metals. According to Jiraiya's guess, ordinary shurikens cannot be used to perform the shuriken shadow clone technique. Specially made shurikens must be used. Otherwise, Sarutobi Hiruzen would have to pass on this type of large area destructive ninjutsu to most of the Jonin, because this level of ninjutsu is simply a killer weapon in a team battle. An ordinary shuriken thrown out can directly split into thousands of substantial clones, which is simply a technique that can wipe out the entire team. However, the number of people in Konoha who master this technique is extremely small. No matter how difficult A-level ninjutsu is, most Jonin can learn it as long as Sarutobi Hiruzen is willing to teach. So all signs indicate that the shuriken used here is the key. You can't perform this technique with ordinary shurikens. As you said, ordinary shurikens simply can't be injected with a large amount of chakra, so you have to use special ninja tools. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and pulled out a shuriken from his pocket. This shuriken is exactly the same as an ordinary shuriken, there is nothing special about it. This shuriken is forged from a special metal that can withstand a large amount of chakra infusion. I will demonstrate this technique to you now, so you must watch carefully. Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he held the shuriken. Jiraiya immediately put aside all distracting thoughts and focused. Because there are not many opportunities to learn A-level ninjutsu. If an ordinary civilian ninja in Konoha wants to learn advanced ninjutsu, he must make great contributions to the village. Because some powerful ninjutsu are controlled by some big clans. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes focused, and he threw the shuriken into the woods, then he quickly formed seals with his hands and shouted, "Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique." Then I saw the shurikens flying quickly, and suddenly they changed from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. The shurikens were increasing at a very fast speed. In just 2 breaths, one shuriken split into thousands. Bump, bump. A series of explosions sounded, and a large number of trees were cut down by shurikens, raising a lot of dust. What a terrifying power. Seeing a large open space suddenly appear in the forest ahead, Orochimaru's eyes flashed with excitement. Jiraiya was also extremely shocked. This power was enough to easily shoot Jonin into a sieve. He knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen had not shown the true power of this technique. According to his understanding, the upper limit of Shuriken Shadow Clone technique is very high. 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato relied on this technique to fire a shuriken laser cannon. In just a few seconds, tens of thousands of shurikens were directly differentiated and swept towards the enemy like a laser cannon. The power was extremely terrifying. Sarutobi Hiruzen stretched out his hand and waved it forward, and the shuriken he shot out bounced back because he had been controlling his chakra to absorb that special shuriken. Have you memorized the seal-making method? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the shocked looks of Orochimaru and the others, feeling quite satisfied. He really enjoyed the looks people gave him. It is precisely because of this that he has always wanted to be Hokage and is unwilling to abdicate. Teacher, we have marked all of them. Jiraiya and the others replied. You must keep these 3 shurikens well. If you lose one, you will have to make a penultimate contribution to the village to get a second one. This is because this special metal is extremely precious and there are not many in the village. Now these 3 shurikens are given to you by me as a personal gift. They are not the property of the village. This scroll contains the specific method of mobilizing chakra. After you have read and memorized it, you must destroy the scroll and never let it leak to anyone. Sarutobi Hiruzen took out 3 shurikens and 3 scrolls and distributed them to Jiraiya and the other 3. Teacher, we have noted it down. Jiraiya and the others took the things and answered. Jiraiya held the shuriken and tried to inject chakra into it, and found it unusually easy. The chakra flowed into the shuriken without any obstruction and without any leakage. I don't know what metal it is made of, but its conductivity and sealing properties are so good. Jiraiya thought curiously in his heart that it was very difficult to guide chakra with ordinary shuriken, and when chakra was injected into it, it would be exposed and could easily be noticed by the enemy. Teacher, it would be great if such a powerful ninjutsu could be performed with ordinary shurikens. That way, if a war breaks out in the future, the casualties in our village will be greatly reduced. Tsunade couldn't help but say. Tsunade, I have thought about this and tried to do it, but all ended in failure. I have no idea how to improve this ninjutsu to be better. I can only rely on you young people. Konoha will definitely have a better future now that it has young and outstanding ninjas like you. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with anticipation, while also engaging in daily brainwashing. Every once in a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen would gather all the ninjas of Konoha village at the Hokage building, and then he would go on stage and preach the will of fire to brainwash the ninjas of Konoha village. It can be said that Sarutobi Hiruzen is a real master of MLM. Teacher, if we can find more powerful special metals to make shurikens in the future, will the power of this ninjutsu be enhanced? Orochimaru said as he licked the shuriken with his tongue. Seeing Orochimaru's flexible tongue, Jiraiya couldn't help but think in his mind, Orochimaru is wasting such a flexible tongue if he doesn't find a lover. Of course it is. It would be best if we could find a special metal containing wind attribute chakra and forge it into shuriken. Sarutobi Hiruzen answered affirmatively. Jiraiya couldn't help but think of the scene where Namikaze Minato used the shuriken shadow technique. Namikaze Minato was able to use the effect of the laser cannon, which must be due to the material used to forge the shuriken. Special metals like this one that possess chakra are even harder to find. I've sent people to look for it, but to no avail. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed again and said. After all, he was the one who developed this ninjutsu, and he wanted to find a more suitable special metal than anyone else to make it into shuriken for use. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 16 Just Have Hands. Special metals are extremely scarce in the Hokage world, and obtaining them almost entirely depends on luck. Even if the major ninja villages try their best to collect them, it is still extremely difficult to find them. I don't know if I can sign in and get some ninja tools made of special metals in the future. Jiraiya couldn't help but think in his mind. You can try to practice this ninjutsu now, and I will point out your shortcomings. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke up. Jiraiya and the others naturally did not dare to waste time and immediately began to try to practice. After all, there aren't many opportunities to have Sarutobi Hiruzen by your side to give you personal guidance. Sarutobi Hiruzen is known as the ninja professor. He has mastered every ninjutsu to the ultimate level. With his guidance, they can avoid many detours in their practice. Especially for an A-level ninjutsu that is difficult to practice, if there is no one to guide you, it may take years to practice it. You should know that the ninjutsu used by ordinary jonin are almost all B-level ninjutsu. First, A-level ninjutsu is difficult to obtain, and second, A-level ninjutsu is very difficult to practice. Orochimaru, don't inject chakra into the shuriken so quickly. This speed will make the chakra extremely unstable. Slow down. Tsunade, when you throw the shuriken, don't just use your super strength, remember to use it together with chakra. You have to know that chakra is the foundation of ninjutsu. Although your super strength can enhance the power of the shuriken shadow clone technique. Jiraiya, you're doing great, keep it up. Sarutobi Hiruzen watched Jiraiya and the others training carefully from the side, and if there was anything wrong, he would correct it immediately. When practicing ninjutsu, one can hardly feel the passage of time. Soon the sun sets and the sky becomes dark. None of Jiraiya and his companions were able to successfully perform this ninjutsu. Teacher, this ninjutsu is too difficult to practice. I have been practicing hard for a whole day, but I still can't mobilize the chakra in my shuriken to condense into an avatar. It seems that this ninjutsu is not suitable for me to practice. Tsunade said, a little disappointed. Tsunade, don't be discouraged so early. It took me 3 years to develop and perfect this ninjutsu. It is normal for you to learn slowly. As long as you practice hard, you will definitely be able to learn it. Sarutobi Hiruzen comforted. It took me 3 years to successfully develop this ninjutsu. You want to learn this ninjutsu in 1 day. Don't I have any dignity? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself. Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. Jiraiya slammed the shuriken into a tree, quickly forming seals with both hands and pouring chakra steadily into the shuriken. The shuriken shook slightly while flying, and then another shuriken was separated. Bang, bang. 2 consecutive explosions were heard, and 2 shurikens hit the tree and pierced through it, leaving 2 holes. Seeing Jiraiya successfully use the Shuriken Shadow Clone technique, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others showed astonishment. Tsunade in particular rubbed his eyes violently, thinking that he was dazzled and saw things wrong. For a moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others were so surprised that they were speechless. Although Jiraiya only created 1 clone, he has indeed learned this ninjutsu. As long as he practices more in the future, he will naturally be able to create a large number of clones. Teacher, this ninjutsu is really difficult to practice. I practiced hard for a whole day, but I could only master 1. Jiraiya pulled the specially made shuriken back with his chakra and complained. Jiraiya, you did a great job. You learned this ninjutsu so quickly. It really gave me, your teacher, another surprise. Sarutobi Hiruzen came back to his senses and praised. Could it be that I really was wrong before? Jiraiya's talent is even better than Orochimaru's. I didn't expect that in order to win the hearts of civilian ninjas, I would actually find a treasure. Sarutobi Hiruzen was now very happy. He accepted Jiraiya as his apprentice just to make his position as Hokage more secure. Now that Jiraiya has shown extremely strong talent, it is a great joy for him. Because Jiraiya and Orochimaru don't have any family power behind them and are completely members of his faction, as they grow up, his regime will become more stable. In the original work, the main reason why Sarutobi Hiruzen has been training Orochimaru as his successor is not only because of Orochimaru's talent, but also because Orochimaru is easier to control. He helped Orochimaru become the Hokage, and he was also able to wield power behind the scenes. Later, Orochimaru defected, and Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to push Jiraiya to the position of Hokage, but Jiraiya was free and easy by nature and had no interest in dirty politics. In addition, he was guided by the great Toad Sage to find a disciple who could change the world, so he left Konoha village. Sarutobi Hiruzen had no choice but to give up, and finally chose Namikaze Minato, who was born a commoner, and supported him to become the 4th Hokage. He retreated behind the scenes and continued to control Konoha village. When Obito was controlling the Nine Tails to attack Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo did not take any action at all. They just hid in the dark and did nothing. It is very likely that it was because Namikaze Minato no longer obeyed their orders, so they wanted to take this opportunity to get rid of Namikaze Minato. After Namikaze Minato's death, Sarutobi Hiruzen once again became Hokage, which seems to be the best proof. As for Tsunade being from the Senju clan, there is no way Sarutobi Hiruzen would pass the position of Hokage to her. If Orochimaru hadn't killed Sarutobi Hiruzen, Tsunade would never have been able to become Hokage. In the late stage of World War II, Tsunade acquired hemophobia, which was caused by Danzo and the 3rd generation. It seems that I have to pay more attention to civilian ninjas in the future, so as not to miss some good seedlings. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself. Jiraiya, did you find some trick that allowed you to learn ninjutsu so quickly? Tsunade asked after coming back to her senses. Do you need to find the tricks to learn this level of ninjutsu? I think just having hands will do. Jiraiya spread his hands and said. The reason why he was able to master A-level ninjutsu so quickly was mainly due to his expertise in hand seals and sage body. His expertise in hand seals allows him to quickly master hand seals when learning ninjutsu below S level, without having to spend more effort on them. Sage Body allows him to control chakra more accurately. Seeing Jiraiya's appearance, Tsunade wanted to punch him directly. Listen, is this human language? When did you only need hands to learn A-level ninjutsu? If one could learn A-level ninjutsu with hands, A-level ninjutsu would have been everywhere long ago. Orochimaru's face twitched as well, he also felt inexplicably insulted. Chapter 17 Burning Youth. Why are you two looking at me like that? Did I say something wrong? Jiraiya felt amused when he saw the murderous expressions on Orochimaru and Tsunade's faces. After a day of hard training, Jiraiya was now exhausted, and teasing Orochimaru and Tsunade was a good way to relax. Even though this would make Orochimaru and Tsunade very unhappy with him, he felt really good inside when he saw the frustrated expressions on Orochimaru and Tsunade's faces. Jiraiya, you are so stingy. If you don't want to tell us the trick, forget it. Do you think I really care? Tsunade said with a snort. She now believed that Jiraiya must have discovered the trick while practicing, otherwise it would be impossible for him to master the ninjutsu so quickly. That's all for today's training. Since Jiraiya has already mastered this ninjutsu, if you don't understand something in the future, you can ask Jiraiya. Don't feel embarrassed. I hope you can all learn this ninjutsu in a week. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. Teacher, even if I can never learn this ninjutsu in my lifetime, I will never ask Jiraiya for advice. Orochimaru will never ask Jiraiya for advice. Who does he think he is? Tsunade said confidently. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't respond, he just used the body flicker technique and left the training ground. He hadn't dealt with government affairs for a day, and now there must be a lot of things piled up that he urgently needed to go back and deal with. So he couldn't waste any more time, otherwise he would have to work overtime and stay up late, and he wouldn't be able to peek into the women's bathhouse. No, to be more precise, it is impossible to detect whether there are any gaps in the village where the enemy forces have infiltrated. After all, friction has begun to arise between Konoha village and other ninjas. Jiraiya, when I gather chakra to make shuriken clones, the chakra will collapse at the critical moment. What is the reason for this? Orochimaru asked Jiraiya. Orochimaru's biggest goal now is to master all ninjutsu. Especially powerful ninjutsu like A-level ninjutsu, which has great temptation to him. Now he just wanted to grab it and master it. Orochimaru, what are you doing? Why are you asking Jiraiya for advice? Tsunade yelled when she saw that Orochimaru wasn't cooperating with her at all. Because Jiraiya has already learned it, if I don't ask him, should I ask you? Orochimaru turned his head and glanced at Tsunade and said. You be ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** towards Tsunade, and he punched Orochimaru. Bang! Orochimaru was knocked away and fell to the ground far away. Tsunade, why did you hit me? Orochimaru stood up and said with an innocent look on his face. He felt that there was nothing wrong with what he said. Because that's the truth. Now that Sarutobi Hiruzen is gone, he wants to quickly learn the Shuriken Shadow Clone technique, so he can only ask Jiraiya for help. What's wrong with him doing this? The reason why your chakra collapsed when you were concentrating it is very simple. Jiraiya said as he gave Orochimaru a sympathetic look. What's the reason? Orochimaru asked anxiously as he wiped the dust off his body. Tsunade didn't use his full strength and Orochimaru was not injured. That's because you haven't mastered chakra thoroughly yet, so you're in a hurry to condense it. When you have fully mastered the chakra that is injected into the shuriken and condensed the clone, you will naturally succeed. Jiraiya explained. Mastering every bit of chakra is the most difficult part of practicing Shuriken Shadow Clone technique. If he hadn't signed in and obtained the Sage Body, he wouldn't have been able to achieve this so quickly. Orochimaru nodded in understanding and continued to practice. Tsunade, now it's time to fulfill your promise. Jiraiya walked up to Tsunade and said maliciously. I always keep my word and will never go back on my word. Just tell me what you want. As long as it doesn't violate my principles, I will agree to it. Tsunade said with a somewhat unnatural look on her face. She did feel some regret in her heart, but she couldn't say it out of face. She really didn't expect that Jiraiya would actually win. Come to my house after dinner and I'll tell you my request then. Jiraiya said. What he asked Tsunade to do was very physically demanding. They had only eaten breakfast during their day of training and were already starving. If Tsunade is not fed, it will be very difficult for Tsunade to complete his request. Jiraiya and Tsunade left the training ground, only Orochimaru still chose to practice hard in the training ground. 1001, 1002, 1003. When Jiraiya was about to return home, he saw a young man in green tights doing push-ups quickly on an open space. Who else could be wearing this kind of clothing during this period but Might Guy's father, Might Dai. Might is just a genin in Konoha village, and he is at the bottom among the genins, and is easily ignored by others. He is even nicknamed the 10,000 years genin by other ninjas. But who could have imagined that this plain-looking guy actually mastered such an amazing physical skill as 8 inner gates? During the Third Shinobi World War, his son Might Guy was surrounded by the 7 ninja swordsmen. After Might Dai heard the news, he immediately went to the rescue on his own, burning his entire youth for his son and his son's friends, opened the Death Gate, performed the 8 inner gates formation, and directly kicked the famous 7 ninja swordsmen into the 3 lucky treasures. Daesong. Jiraiya greeted Might Dai with a smile. Might Dai stopped practicing and stared at Jiraiya blankly, then said with tears in his eyes, "The Hokage's apprentice actually took the initiative to greet me. Today I must run hundreds of laps around the village and completely burn my youth." Jiraiya and Might are of similar age. Since Might is also the last in the class, almost no one likes to play with him, so he is very lonely. On ordinary days, almost no one would greet him proactively. What's more, Jiraiya is the apprentice of the Hokage. Although he is only a chunin, he still has some status in Konoha. Daesong, you don't need to be so excited. Might Dai's reaction really surprised Jiraiya. "I'm just saying hello to you, is there any need to be so passionate? It's even more exciting than the Boruto legend. Ah, the second sentence is that we must run around the village 200 times today," Might Dai said loudly with tears in his eyes. Seeing Might Dai's extreme reaction, Jiraiya didn't dare to say anything, because he was afraid that Might Dai would add a few hundred more circles to him. He didn't want Might to die of exhaustion. Chapter 18 Somewhat Lost. Jiraiya-san, I'm so excited. Sorry. Might Dai calmed down, wiped the hot tears from his face, and said with some embarrassment. Dai-san, practice must be combined with work and rest. Don't practice excessively, as this will be counterproductive. I have just practiced for a whole day and am now preparing to have dinner. If you haven't had dinner yet, would you like to join us? Jiraiya invited. Might Dai also has huge potential, and he must maintain a good relationship with Might Dai. Because he wanted Might's youth to burn completely for him. The ninja world will be full of dangers in the future, and you will be safer if you have a good relationship with Might. Ah, the Hokage-sama's apprentice actually wants to invite me to dinner. I must run around the village 1,000 times to commemorate this moment. Might Dai became excited again and shouted towards the sky. Jiraiya was a little confused about Might's train of thought, and didn't know why he was so easily excited. Jiraiya-san, I'm not qualified to have dinner with you right now because I haven't completed my training for today. I'm very sorry, Might Dai said apologetically. It's okay, Dai sang, I'll go back first. Jiraiya would not force Dai to leave. Now he could feel that Might Dai had a great affection for him, so they could just get along slowly in the future. If you act too hard, it might backfire. Burn your youth, and never let it go to waste. Dai yelled and went running around the village. Dai-san's running workout is even more exciting than Boruto's. Jiraiya couldn't help but say as he looked at Might's receding back. I don't know if I'll be able to sign in and get the 8 inner gates training method in the future. I am really looking forward to it. Jiraiya thought to himself that he was still very envious of 8 inner gates' lack of strength. Although 8 inner gates' vitality will be severely burned after opening 8 inner gates formation, don't forget that he has the sage body. As long as it is developed, his vitality and recovery ability will be extremely strong, which is suitable for practicing 8 inner gates. He will definitely not be like Dai, who died immediately after opening the death door. Moreover, possessing a sage body and learning sage mode can greatly enhance the vitality of the body. Jiraiya believed that with his future physical recovery ability, after learning the 8 inner gates, even if the death gate was opened, his body should be able to withstand it and would not suffer much damage. Jiraiya returned home, caught another fish from the pond, and walked into the kitchen. The reason why they still eat fish is because Jiraiya has little money left. Almost all of Jiraiya's parents' pension from their deaths in battle and his monthly living allowance were used by the former Jiraiya to buy all kinds of pornographic novels and comics. These books laid a good foundation for Jiraiya's future writing. He decided to take some time to read these novels and comics carefully to enrich his spiritual world. He didn't have much money left, and it was only the beginning of the month, so he had to spend frugally. Otherwise, he would probably go hungry by the end of the month. He is still in the training stage and cannot take on some ninja missions to earn bounties. Of course, World War II was about to begin, and it wouldn't be long before Sarutobi Hiruzen would send someone to lead the three of them to complete some tasks to hone them. Jiraiya, I'm here. You can ask for anything you want, as long as it's not excessive. If you can't do it, I lose. Jiraiya had just finished dinner when Tsunade called out from inside the courtyard. Jiraiya burped and touched his stomach, then walked outside. Tsunade, the bathroom is ready with hot water, you can go in. Jiraiya, don't go too far. You want me to take a bath in front of you. That's absolutely impossible. Tsunade yelled immediately, with a blush on her face. She now thought that she had prepared hot water for her to go into the bathroom and take a bath. Hey, Tsunade, what are you thinking about? I don't plan on asking you to take a shower. Jiraiya said with a smile. So what do you want me to do? Tsunade asked as her expression softened. I haven't used the training equipment in there for a long time. It's now covered with dust. I want you to clean it up. It's easier to clean it with warm water. Jiraiya said, pointing at the training grounds. You just want me to clean the house? Tsunade asked in surprise. She had thought Jiraiya would make some excessive demands. She didn't expect that the request made by Jiraiya was so simple, which made her a little confused for a moment. Before Tsunade came, she had actually prepared to beat Jiraiya up. Because she thought Jiraiya was so lustful and liked to voyeur, now that she had the chance to make a request to her, it would be nothing more than a request to take advantage of her. But Jiraiya didn't do that now, and Tsunade couldn't find a reason to beat Jiraiya up. Tsunade, I asked you to clean up, but you look a little disappointed. Do you really want to take a shower in front of me? Jiraiya asked with a smirk. You want me to take a bath in front of you? Forget about it in this life. And if you dare to run to my house to peep, I promise to make sure you never come back. Tsunade threatened, waving his fist. Then he walked into the bathroom, took out the warm water that Jiraiya had prepared, and walked towards the training ground with some cleaning things. Do a good job, I will check it later. Jiraiya said. Tsunade didn't answer, but just stomped a piece of gravel on the ground into powder. You have a bad temper. It won't be long before Master Jiraiya conquers you. Then I'll let you take the initiative to bathe for me. Jiraiya thought in his mind. Women all admire strong men, especially in the Hokage world. With the help of the sign-in system, he will definitely become stronger very quickly. He is absolutely confident that in his future actions, he will completely attract Tsunade. Jiraiya walked to the pond, took off his clothes, jumped into the pond and started taking a bath. I have been practicing all day today and sweated a lot. I must take a shower to refresh myself. It's really dirty. How long will it take to clean it up? Looking at the training ground covered with dust and cobwebs, Tsunade was a little dumbfounded. Hold Jiraiya, I'll teach you a lesson sooner or later. How dare you order me to clean up? Tsunade couldn't help but curse after cleaning for a while. Ah, Jiraiya, what are you doing you hole? When Tsunade was carrying a bucket to change the water, she happened to see Jiraiya walking out of the pond. Her face instantly turned red with shame, she screamed, and quickly turned around. Chapter 19 Suspicion. Tsunade, you peeped at me while I was taking a shower. Jiraiya immediately turned the tables and said. Jiraiya, put on your clothes quickly, or I will kill you. Tsunade said very angrily. Jiraiya was also afraid of really angering Tsunade, so he quickly put his clothes on. He didn't want to taste Tsunade's fist. He just wanted to taste Tsunade's breasts. After getting dressed, Jiraiya said to Tsunade, after you clean the training ground and fix the door, you can go back. Jiraiya, if you dare to take off your clothes without my permission again when I'm around, I'll crush your little bird. Tsunade turned around and said viciously. Jiraiya suddenly felt a chill in his lower body. What a scary look. You crushed my little bird. What will happen to your happiness in the future? Jiraiya muttered in his mind. After resting for a while, Jiraiya started to do push-ups on the ground to exercise his body. If you want to fully develop your sage body, physical training is essential. Moreover, the strength he demonstrated today was seriously inconsistent with that in the past. He was sure that Danzo would send someone to monitor him and find out why he suddenly became so strong. So he had to create an image of hard practice for Danzo to see. Danzo had to think that his sudden strength was due to his hard training. There was a leafy tree not far from Jiraiya's house. A ninja wearing a rabbit mask was squatting on the tree, observing Jiraiya. The rabbit ninja is a member of Anbu. Just as Jiraiya thought, Danzo immediately sent a ninja to monitor Jiraiya after he returned. Danzo was extremely curious about how Jiraiya suddenly became so strong. Damn it, why did I kick the door down? Tsunade looked at the broken door with some regret in her heart. She had just finished cleaning the training room, and as for how to repair the door, she had no idea. 978,979,980. Jiraiya is now doing push-ups with one hand, sweating profusely, and trying hard to hold on with all his strength. This is almost the limit of what his body can endure. But he still gritted his teeth and persisted. After all, only by constantly breaking through his limits can he become stronger. What kind of blow did this guy suffer that he is practicing so hard? The reason why he has become so strong is that he has been practicing hard recently. But even so, his strength growth is a little too terrifying. Unless Jiraiya was a genius before, the reason why his strength was so weak before was because he didn't practice seriously at all. He only thought about how to peak. So now that he is concentrating on practicing, his strength will improve by leaps and bounds. I have to fix the door quickly, and then go back and practice hard. I can't let him throw me away. Looking at Jiraiya who was practicing hard, Tsunade thought to himself. Then she found a lot of wooden boards and nails and started making door panels. Finally done, my craftsmanship is pretty good. When it was almost dawn, Tsunade wiped the sweat from his forehead, looked at the door panel that he had made with great difficulty, and said with satisfaction. Tsunade, are you mistaken? This is the door panel you made for me. Jiraiya was a little dumbfounded as he looked at the many gaps flashing. Damn it, not only did he make the door panel into this shape, but he even showed an expression of great sense of accomplishment, which was a bit too much. What the hell is that expression on your face? Are you not satisfied with the door panel I made? This door panel not only allows for ventilation, but also allows you to observe the situation outside the door at any time. It is as convenient as it can be. It took me a whole night to make this. If you're not satisfied, you can do it yourself. I'm going to go back and rest. Tsunade said very unhappily. Jiraiya continued to be dumbfounded. He didn't expect Tsunade to lie with his eyes open. Practicing Shuriken Shadow Clone technique. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Looking at the irritable Tsunade, Jiraiya didn't dare to provoke him now, and could only force a smile and said. Don't worry, I will never come to see you. Tsunade snorted and left. Jiraiya turned and walked into the training ground, and found that the originally dirty training ground had become extremely clean. Tsunade cleaned it quite carefully. Jiraiya went to take a look at some training equipment that could launch ninja tools on their own and found that they were all intact and could be used immediately as long as the ninja tools were filled in. These training equipments are used to exercise reaction ability. Jiraiya planned to train his reaction ability today. He found many wooden shurikens and stuffed them into the training equipment. Just control the training equipment and let these shurikens hit you to practice your reaction ability. Time flies, and 5 days have passed quickly. Elder Danzo, after many days of observation, I found that Jiraiya did not have any strange behavior. He only slept for a few hours a day, and spent the rest of his time practicing taijutsu and ninjutsu very hard. I believe that Jiraiya's sudden increase in strength is related to his hard practice. He should have excellent talent, but he didn't like to practice before, so he wasted his talent. Ninja wearing a rabbit mask in Anbu's basement. Said respectfully to Danzo. Jiraiya used to love spying. Did he spy during the time you were monitoring him? Danzo asked after a moment's hesitation. During the time that my subordinates were monitoring him, he did not go to peek. The rabbit-masked ninja shook his head and said. That's strange. You sneak into his house tonight and bring me all his parents' belongings. Danzo ordered to the bunny-masked ninja. Danzo hasn't given up yet, and thinks that Jiraiya might have received some help, which is why his strength has grown so fast. If it was true as he thought, then that thing was most likely from the relics left by Jiraiya's parents. Yes, Elder. The rabbit-masked ninja said respectfully. When doing this, remember to be secretive and don't let Jiraiya find out. Danzo reminded. As a high-ranking official in the village, stealing the remains of ninjas who died fighting for the village is an extremely dishonorable act. It must not be exposed, otherwise it would be a huge blow to the reputation of the village. Danzo would never allow this to happen. Danzo still loves Konoha village very much. His heart has not yet turned completely extreme and dark. Chapter 20, Thunderblade and Thunder Chakra Changes. Sign in. Jiraiya spoke directly when he woke up in the morning. This was already the 7th day since he had traveled to the Hokage world, and the time for his second sign-in had come. He is now looking forward to the sign-in reward. Now that World War II in the ninja world is about to break out, they all naturally have to go to the battlefield and must improve their strength as quickly as possible. The rewards from the system are the best and fastest way for him to improve his strength. Signed in successfully, got rewarded, a fine ninja tool, Thunder Blade, has been distributed to the system backpack, you can use it at any time. The system's mechanical voice sounded in Jiraiya's mind. I didn't expect that the reward I got this time would be ninja tools. Judging from the name alone, it does sound quite impressive, and I hope the actual effect won't be that bad. Extract the Thunder Flame Blade. Jiraiya gave the order to the system without any hesitation. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiraiya felt that the space in front of him began to fluctuate. A thunder and fire suddenly emerged, collided with each other, and then turned into a sharp blade about 12 inches long. The Thunder Flame Blade looked extremely sharp, flashing an extremely cold light. Seeing the appearance of the Thunder Flame Blade was so cool, Jiraiya was looking forward to it even more. Jiraiya reached out and took it, and found that it was as light as a feather and could hardly feel any weight. Bang, bang. Jiraiya swung the sword in the air in front of him a few times, and explosion sounds were heard, as if the air was being cut apart. Jiraiya looked at the 1.5 meter high flower bed in his home, raised his right hand and chopped down. The flower bed split into 2 halves and fell to the floor. The cut was extremely neat, and Jiraiya felt extremely easy when he cut it down, without encountering any resistance. Jiraiya then took out a normal shuriken and chopped off the Thunder Flame Blade. The shuriken was also easily cut into 2 pieces, with the cut ends being extremely smooth. So sharp. Jiraiya exclaimed, even if the Thunder Flame Blade had no other uses, it was still an extremely powerful ninja tool. If this ninja tool falls into the hands of a ninja who is good at assassination, it will be like adding wings to a tiger. What are the functions of the Thunder Flame Blade? Jiraiya asked the system. The Thunder Blade must have other uses. Reporting to the master, the Lightning Flame Blade can absorb the chakra contained in the lightning-style ninjutsu and fire-style ninjutsu emitted by the enemy to reduce the power of the enemy's ninjutsu, and the absorbed chakra will also be stored in the Lightning Flame Blade. The master can then trigger it with chakra to send out thunder and fire to attack the enemy. The more concentrated chakra is absorbed, the greater the power. And the power of the lightning-style ninjutsu and fire-style ninjutsu performed by the master through the Thunder Flame Blade will also be enhanced. The system is introduced in great detail. It's somewhat similar to how Hoshigaki Kisame used the broadsword Samahata. Jiraiya said inwardly. The broadsword Samahata can also devour chakra and inject the devoured chakra into the user's body, but it cannot enhance the power of ninjutsu. How much chakra can be absorbed from the enemy's ninjutsu? Jiraiya asked. This point is extremely critical. It can absorb about 50% of the chakra content of the opponent's ninjutsu. The system replied. So awesome. Jiraiya didn't expect that he could absorb so much, which could directly reduce the power of the opponent's ninjutsu by half. So how much chakra can the Thunder Blade absorb at most? The Thunder Flame Blade can absorb chakra without limit, but there is a time limit. If the chakra is not used within half an hour, the chakra will dissipate on its own. The system replied. Only half an hour, what a pity. Jiraiya was a little dissatisfied with this. If there were no time limit, he could inject a large amount of chakra into the Thunder Flame Blade every day, and then release it suddenly when encountering an enemy, which would definitely give the opponent a big surprise. How much more powerful can the ninjutsu be? Jiraiya asked the last question. In fact, Lei Yanren's last function has some limitations. Because many ninjutsu can only be performed by hand seals and cannot be used in conjunction with ninja tools. If Jiraiya wants to use the Thunder Blade to enhance the power of his ninjutsu, then he also has to learn ninjutsu that is specifically used with ninja tools. In addition, his chakra had no lightning attribute transformation, so he was unable to practice lightning attribute escape techniques, which resulted in the effectiveness of the Thunder Flame Blade being reduced by half. The properties of chakra are determined by nature and cannot be changed. It can increase the power of ninjutsu by 60%. The system responded quickly. Jiraiya's eyes lit up. The lightning blade's ability to increase the power of ninjutsu was extremely great. It can increase the power by 60%, which means that performing one ninjutsu is equivalent to using two ninjutsu at once. Taking all these into consideration, the Thunder Flame Blade is definitely an extremely powerful ninja tool. Jiraiya was sure that there was not even one ninja tool of this level in the entire Konoha village. Ding dong, daily check-in mode has been activated. The system voice sounded immediately afterwards. What does daily check-in mode mean? Jiraiya was a little confused. Reporting to the master, after the daily sign-in mode is turned on, the master can sign in every day to get rewards. However, the rewards for daily sign-in are much worse than those for 7-day sign-in. However, the reward items are all high quality and will definitely not disappoint the master. The system explained in detail. Jiraiya became excited instantly, and his strength would increase even faster. System, can I still do my daily sign-in today? Jiraiya asked expectantly. The 7-day sign-in and daily sign-in do not conflict, master. You can sign in today now. The system replied. Sign in, Jiraiya said without any hesitation. This was really a pleasant surprise. The system he is bound to is really user-friendly. I hope the system will continue to be so user-friendly in the future, and allow people to sign in every hour. Sign in successfully, gaining Thunder Attribute Chakra Change. The system prompt sounded. Then Jiraiya felt his whole body become numb, as if he had been electrocuted. This process did not last long, only about 3 seconds. System, good job. Jiraiya couldn't help but say with joy. He was just worried about not having the lightning attribute chakra nature transformation. He didn't expect the system to help him solve it in an instant. In this way, the full power of the Thunder Flame Blade he had just obtained could be exerted. At the same time, he was also amazed at the ability of the system, that things that had been determined in advance could actually be changed. In the Hokage world, there are far more lightning styles that can be used with ninja tools than fire styles, and it is also easier for him to find matching ninjutsu. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.